Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Great to have your company over the next 4 hours, bringing you the best of the action right across Great Britain. But of course, with the emphasis on Scottish football, we were looking at the Premiership, League One and League Two. And of course, the Championship takes place tomorrow. We'll look ahead to those crucial games in the battle for second place in the Championship between Falkirk and Hibernian. We'll also take a look at the Barclays Premier League, not only today but tomorrow, which could be a momentous day for Leicester City. Today, in my company, we have Alan Ruff. We also have Gordon Smith and Frank McAvenny. That's the top team to take you through the next 4 hours with goals. We've got reporters out at the key games. We'll have reaction to the goals as they go in, and we'll also be talking about the burning issues that you've been reading about on the back pages of your newspapers this morning, as well as the unfolding stories today. Okay, one game up and running. Celtic looking to really all but clinch it. It's mathematically still possible, Gordon Smith, for Aberdeen to take them right to the end of the season. But today, I think it would be an unassailable lead. What's the score on this one?
Yeah, well, Celtic leading 2-1 with 10 minutes to go, and it's been a good game. Hearts were outplayed first half. I thought Celtic were definitely the better team, but in the second half, Hearts made changes at half time. Robbie Nielsen altered his team, and Hearts were a big improvement and did well at the start of the second half. But since then, Celtic have got back in the game. Good goal by Rotsy, but he took his chance very well. But Celtic back in front, and Celtic have got a little bit stronger as the game's going on. So as you say, if they win this game and get the 3 points, that means that they're 12 points ahead of Aberdeen. Aberdeen have 4 games to play, including a game at Celtic Park next week. But with the goal difference being about 37 of a goal difference, you think there's no chance of them pulling back 12 points and 37 goals.
Yeah, it must be party time there. Some of the Celtic fans will be in shock. Macca calling Kazim Richards has scored a goal for them as well.
Yeah, well, it's his first start. It's his second goal. Last goal he scored was against the part-timers, East Kilbride. But he's in. He scored the goal. The fans will be happy with that. But you know, he's one of the players that I identified last week as players that shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't be in. And you know, and the quicker players like that leave Celtic and they go on to something better. That would suit me well.
Yeah, I think the Celtic fans now are just actually thinking about get the title in the bag and look towards the summer, Ruffy.
Yeah, there's going to be changes, and we just have to wait and see who's going to leave, and obviously who's going to come in and make these decisions. But I think there will be, if possible, if players aren't on contracts, then a lot of them will be moved on.
Yeah, I've never witnessed a week like it for everybody and their granny being linked with the job, Ruffy. Although I have to say, I still think that there are just maybe 3 candidates. One, of course, that we exclusively revealed on this programme, and David Moyes. Michael O'Neill still in the running, and of course I can't rule out Roy Keane, if only for the friendship factor with Dermot Desmond.
Yeah, I think it all depends, obviously, on the owners of the club, but it just depends on which way they're going to go, you know, whether they're going to rip everything up and start again, you know, and then decide, well, what way are we going to go, because it'll depend on what calibre of manager you're going to get, you know, because David Moyes isn't going to go in there with restrictions, and I would like to think some of the others aren't going to go in either. So if they don't have the format that these bigger names are going to buy into, they're going to end up with somebody further down the ladder.
But there's got to be a level of restriction.
I flung a name in, Peter, that I thought would have been great there, the boy Di Matteo.
Yeah.
I thought Roberto Di Matteo, but he plays football the way the fans at Celtic want the game to be played. You know, and he would go in there and he's got a pedigree.
Yeah, strangely enough, it's something that we'll undoubtedly discuss throughout the afternoon, but Celtic fans, I think, have been looking at quite a few names with a Celtic connection. Is that important? We'll throw that out to you on social media, at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. At the moment, the early kick-off happens to be Hearts 1, Celtic 2 in the dying minutes of that game. We'll give you the full time next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show. 4 hours of football chat, concentrating on Scottish football and, of course, the early kick-off. There's another goal in the game, McAvenny, and I think it would be one that you would be proud of, Frank.
I would have been proud of that. Yeah, there was a scuffle a couple of minutes ago with Griffiths and Suter, and he get booked. Griffiths get booked, and he just won the ball off. He won a block there, ran out, nutmeg Suter, and put it into the bottom corner, which is, to be honest, it's a great way to answer, getting booked and getting into a little scuffle, especially because of his big connection with the Hearts fans. It's that would be so sweet for him.
Oh yeah, it was a great finish. Terrific goal too, in terms of the fact he won the possession of the ball from Suter, but then he went through and he's fired it in. Tremendous pace on the ball and into the post. But you said, as you say, Frank, I think he enjoyed that every bit as much as any Celtic fan did.
Yes, of course.
Celebration.
He has a special affinity with the Hearts fans, Ruffy. It's just unique.
Yeah,
he turns it on for them.
Yeah, he's been known to go out in Edinburgh and enjoy a wee sing-song here and there, but not the kind of sing-song he should be singing.
Yes,
that's quite funny, Peter. That's the second time.
Oh yeah, off.
Goal scorer. As soon as he scored, Roberts was subbed. As soon as Griffiths has scored, he's subbed as well.
Yeah,
must be so the Celtic fans can give them
a
bit of special applause. But
well, he was getting some great applause from the Hearts supporters as he was walking off there.
I bet he was, of course. And as Gordon said, that was quite funny. It was the goal, not the sing-song, just to clarify. People who conduct themselves in an orderly manner, but he's a goal scorer, and he's also one of the nominees in the PFA Player of the Year awards tomorrow night, so it should be interesting to see who eventually will pick up the overall big award. We'll be looking at the nominees, and we'll also have a look at the Team of the Year, which was released only in the last 24 hours. There's been a few surprises, and there are only 2 Celtic players in that team, Ruffy, which I think caught everybody in the hop.
Well, I think players, when they vote against players who they've come up against and done particularly well. Situations that stand out and you remember them and go, he had a good game when he came here. But I think the 2 that got picked, they're justified. But I think the others as well, particularly the Dundee boys, I was pleased that they were in it because they've done particularly well this year.
I'd have thought somebing like Beaton though would have made the Team of the Year.
He's been hot and cold, Gordon. He's been hot.
Yeah, but who in the other teams, Frank, who's not hot and cold?
Well, yeah.
It's hardly any.
The biggest mistake for me, the biggest surprise for me was the goalkeeping.
Yeah.
But I thought it should have been a boy at Hamilton instead of Bennett. And I mean, Baines played. McGovern played. Baines played. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's played really well.
Yeah.
But I think McGovern's been outstanding. I really think he's been outstanding. So that was the only surprise to me. I was glad, as Ruffy says, but Hemmings and Stewart.
It was almost as if people as well recognised and felt actually that the Aberdeen midfield was better than the Celtic midfield, because there's three Aberdeen midfield players that have made the team of the season, where there's nobody from Celtic.
I was surprised at Kenny McLean as well, because he's not. I mean, we all know he's a wonderful talent.
Yeah.
But he's not been fanning all cylinders this year. He's not been the. He's not been the stick out one for me.
Yeah. No, I would say Hayes definitely.
Yeah.
Hayes was for me a strong candidate for it.
Well, I think he's a standout player in that Aberdeen side, and as far as Johnny Hayes is concerned, he's also in the starting lineup for today's match against Motherwell. It's Colin, Logan, Shinnie, Considine, Taylor, Flood, McLean, McGinn, the aforementioned Hayes, Church and Jack. So that's the starting 11 for Aberdeen. As far as Motherwell are concerned, Ripley, Hamill, Lang, McManus, Ainsworth, Pearson, Johnson, Lasley, Kennedy, Moult and McDonald. And as we reach the closure of this season, I think a few of the more experienced Motherwell players will be happy that Mark McGee is looking at offering them extensions to their deals for maybe at least another season. We'll talk about Aberdeen at Motherwell in a moment. Ruffy, we're in the last few minutes of the Hearts-Celtic game. It's Hearts 1, Celtic 3. What's been happening?
Yeah, I mean, Hearts have been a lot better in the second half. You have to say that the two goals that Celtic have scored in the second half have been gifted to them. I mean, they haven't really worked them, if you know what I mean. You know, there have been mistakes in the Hearts defence. The boy Suter is still showing a wee bit of inexperience and at both goals. But apart from that, I mean, that's the difference in the teams. You know, striker, when given the chance, takes it, and you win games.
Yep. At the bottom end of the table, there's all to play for as far as the playoff is concerned. Kilmarnock desperately trying to get out of that playoff position. We are now on our way to New Douglas Park because that has a game with major repercussions at the bottom end of the Premiership, and Craig Turnbull is there.
Yeah, this one has the makings of an absolute cracker. A win for Hamilton will guarantee their survival for another season. Kilmarnock desperately need 3 points in order to keep their Premiership hopes alive, and they'll have to do so without their outstanding goalkeeper Jamie McDonald, who lost his red card appeal in midweek. It means a first start for Conor Brennan, and he is a part of 3 changes for Kilmarnock today. It's all about momentum as we head into the business end of the season, and it's certainly been with the Accies. 3 wins in their last 5 games has opened up a 7-point gap on today's opponents. Kilmarnock boss Lee Clark insists it's far from over, but 1 win in their last 8 games suggests it might be. Looking forward to this one. It's Hamilton v Kilmarnock.
Yeah, the statistics don't lie on this one. Kilmarnock just haven't been able to get out of the rut. Just when you thought maybe there was a bit of life in them, Gordon, suddenly the defeats just kept on coming.
Yeah, I mean, they had one good result, which was a win against St Johnstone, and you suddenly thought, well, if they can just keep that kind of form going now. The last defeat there was one that it could be arguably about circumstances, Peter, as we know, because they had McDonald was sent off with a winning 1-0. A bad pass back resulted in him having to make the challenge. So as a triple whammy when that thing happens, as it's often been talked about. It's a northern off for your goalkeeper. It's a penalty kick, so you've lost a goal, and now your goalkeeper is also suspended for a game, which means that it's 3 sanctions you get for one incident that that Kilmarnock were trying to claim wasn't an ordering off situation. They said that the player wasn't going to be in and goal. But they've suffered for that and ended up losing 3-1. And now this is basically a kind of cup final today. That's what we're finding in games. This one for Celtic against Hearts is slightly like that. You've got scenarios down in lower divisions as well, Peter, where you've got games today that will determine whether teams are in the playoff or not. And this, for Kilmarnock's situation, if Hamilton win today, that's them safe. They're actually guaranteed their Premier Division status, and Kilmarnock will be in the playoff at best. Obviously Dundee United, if they were to catch them, which we don't think they will, but so Kilmarnock will be in the playoff.
You can actually see in Kilmarnock's play what Clark's trying to do with them. I thought there was, it just shows you how little things can define your season, because I thought they were playing well. They played a lot better against Celtic. I thought they were a better team on the day. They should have got something out of the game, possibly a win. Roderick scored in the 91st minute or something. So little things define the season, and I just thought, they've been all right, but they've just run out of time, and a new manager comes in. You can see what he's trying to do, but too late.
We'll be going to Firhill in just a moment to speak to Derek Clark ahead of Partick Thistle against Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Also, Ross County are taking on St Johnstone today. Let's quickly give you the county side. It's Fox in goal, Fraser, Davies, Franks, Quinn, Murdoch, Quinn, McShane, Irvin, Boyce and Schalk, who's staying on at Ross County after signing that new deal. As far as St Johnstone are concerned, it's Clark, Fisher, Shaughnessy, Anderson, Scobie, Wotherspoon, Miller, Craig, Swanson, Cummins and McLean. That's their starting 11. So you've got the teams from there. Let's get a preview of that Partick Thistle Inverness game with Derek Clark.
Yeah, it's a battle of the Jags here this afternoon, where victory for either side would guarantee safety, but I'm pretty sure both these teams will be looking up the table. Victory for Partick here will see them leapfrog today's opponents into 8th, and they go into this game with a certain degree of confidence. They've won the last 3 meetings here and are unbeaten in 6 against the Highlanders. Team-wise, Alan Archibald makes 3 changes from the side that lost to Dundee here last week. So out goes Nesbitt, Miller and Elliott, who all drop to the bench. In comes Amu, Booth and Seaborn, who return from suspension. Inverness, meanwhile, will have aspirations of climbing above Dundee into 7th. They'll do that with a win here this afternoon until Monday at the very least. John Hughes said midweek his team have underachieved this year, although I reckon that was always on the cards considering their heroic achievements last season, winning the Scottish Cup and finishing 3rd. He makes 2 changes with the side that beat Kilmarnock 3-1 last week. In comes Roberts and Mabuyi Matombo. Out goes Vigers and Williams. Both these sides looking for the 3 points. Let's hope we're in for a rip-roaring game here this afternoon. It's Partick against Inverness.
Yeah, he's got me excited about it as well there, Ruffy. Let's hope we're in for a rip-roaring game. You just sensed that Derek was looking forward to this one.
Well, sometimes when you think a game it isn't going to be that way, sometimes it is, and there's a lot of players get things to prove in that game. You know, obviously contracts are coming up and everything, so I think you might be surprised. I think we might get a high-scoring game there.
Yeah, okay, here's how the fixtures look for today in the Premiership. You can keep your eye on it. As you can see, it's Hearts 1, Celtic 3 from the early kick-off. Aberdeen against Motherwell, Hamilton, Kilmarnock, Partick-Thistle, Inverness, and Ross County against St Johnstone. We're about to talk about Dundee against Dundee United, but I might as well get the overall assessment, Macca, of the game that's just finished. Hearts 1, Celtic 3.
It was deserved. It was well deserved. I was quite surprised the way Hearts set out, Peter, because they've had great success this year, just with bombing forward, getting every pitch, every inch of the pitch used, and they sort of try to condense it in today to sort of curtail Celtic a little bit, and it took a wee bit away from what Hearts have been doing. And of course, it let Celtic in, they scored, and they've got another couple of goals, which was, as Ruffy says earlier, it's a bit naive and defender. But they will learn off it, the Hearts players. But a deserved win overall over the 90 minutes. They've just brought Commons on for a token 2 minutes, which is a bit... Really, I don't know why they've done that, just to waste time maybe, but it's 3-1. Comfortable, very comfortable.
Yep, so they get the win in the end. That team could change dramatically over the summer with a new manager, but the Celtic fans know that Aberdeen will have to produce a performance today to try and stop the overall title celebrations. I think it will be confirmed, obviously, against Aberdeen at Celtic Park. But we'll look at the teams in the key games in the Premiership. We'll also be looking towards the Championship a little later on. We've got League 1 and League 2 to look forward to as well. Dundee against Dundee United takes place on the Monday in the Premiership, and it's really D-Day at Dens Park for Mixu Patalainen's side. The headlines this morning just really reveal that it's not a happy place, Tannadice, when your manager, Mixu Patalainen, Ruffy, says there's a toxic atmosphere in Tannadice.
Yeah, well, I think it was toxic when Jackie McNamara left. You know, that's when it all started, when somebody disclosed the deal that he had, getting a percentage of the transfers. That's when it all turned sour. The fans turned on the manager completely, and ever since then it just went downhill. And Mixer hasn't made it any better. He's had money to buy players in, and it hasn't worked. I mean, the performances haven't improved. So yeah, I think he is under pressure. And if you're in a dressing room and there's nothing happening like that, a lot of stories start flying about, and that's why it becomes toxic.
I think part of the problem as well is that the chairman already, the owner, Steve Thompson's already talking about selling the club and all that sort of thing. He's meant to be in the States, isn't he, looking for a buyer. That isn't going to do a lot of good for the atmosphere within the club. A lot of people will say they'll be happy about it because a lot of the fans want him out because of everything that's happened. But the other side of it is, it's like, well, what's going to happen to our club? Is somebody going to buy us? Who's taking us over? All that type of thing. And Mixu Patalainen is saying that because he won't know where he is, depending on whether somebody else new comes in, new owners. How is he with the current people? Do they want to keep him? So I think that he's made Mixu's coming out and saying these things because he feels that way, rather than thinking that it's precisely around the whole club. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the big question here is quite simply, has he improved Dundee United since McNamara's departure? When you consider his signings and the players that he brought in, he changed the ethos of that club from looking at young players to develop and try and get a young, vibrant, energetic side to bringing in seasoned campaigners to try and reverse the slide. It didn't work.
No, I would agree with you. I think that it hasn't worked for him at all, and I think that you know, that's something that they hoped it would happen, that he came in there with a view to bringing in a new way of doing it. But he's brought in seasoned campaigners, as you said, who haven't really done the job. And a good example of it is the fact that he brought back the young boy, Muirhead. They paid 180,000 for him. They brought him back from Partick Thistle, where he was doing well in January, Peter, and then didn't play him at all. Now, what was the point of actually finishing his loan deal? And now this, I think, is in the newspapers today, that he's just done a settlement deal to leave the club. He's leaving. So regardless who's going to be the new manager, young Robbie Muirhead is leaving the club. Now, why didn't Mixu Paatelainen, when he was requiring and got a goal scorer, at least give the boy a chance?
Well, forgive me for being an old cynic in this one. Could they have had a wee chat and said, well, listen, let's try and drag back anybody that could potentially help the people that we're battling against in relegation trouble, Macca? I'm being cynical.
Yeah, well, you could say that. I mean, it's just, you're cynical. Ruffy was talking about all season saying he still thinks Dundee United have got a chance of staying there.
Yeah. No, the word we're talking about is cynical. That is lunacy. From a pundit's point of view, the only credible line from Ruffy on this is mathematically it's possible. When you're actually looking at the way they were playing, the results that they were performing. There was a point where he said that they could win 6 or 7 games on the trot. They've never done that all season.
They've not done it 3 seasons, so they've no chance of doing it this year. But I liked the way Jackie was doing it. As you said, the young boys coming through, and there was like a conveyor belt up at Dundee United, and Mitchell came in and he just bought Guy DeMel. Now, I seen him when he was at West Ham, and I says if he get fit and he can play the 90 minutes, then he's a good player. But he's obviously not. He's not got it. He's not got that energy now that he used to, or enthusiasm maybe for the game that he's wanting to play. Come up to Scotland and people kicking you. Maybe not got that. I just think Jackie would have done a better job.
Yeah, Pong Goal as well was another man. Kawashima he brought in there. Significant players that really didn't change their fortunes. Ruffy, they're going down to the Championship.
Not yet, they're not.
Oh.
Not yet, they're not.
Can I ask you this? Are you not embarrassed by the stance you're taking?
No, because if they win, if they beat Dundee and Kilmarnock got beat today, they've got Kilmarnock the week after that, and if they beat them, they're 2 points behind with 2 games to go. I mean, we're in football here. I know the stats aren't there.
When was the last time they won 2 games?
That's not the point. That's not the point. It doesn't mean. Are you telling me because they haven't won these many games, it means they can't win 2 games?
I think it's turmoil. I think
there's always an argument for probability, Ruffy. There's not an argument for reality.
No, I don't think reality comes into it. You know, you can't. You've just got to go. You've got to go out and win games.
Yeah.
You've got to go. You tell me 100. You tell me 100% they can't go and beat Dundee United.
Dundee.
Is there a chance?
They might beat Dundee United.
Is there a chance?
I'll tell you one thing.
I'm asking you, is there a chance they could beat them?
I'll tell you right now, Ruffy, the reality here is everybody's got a chance. But what we're dealing with is in looking at a team every week that's quite simply at this point, the evidence over the last 3 months is they're not good enough to beat them. They're not good enough to actually produce performances.
No,
that doesn't mean they can't beat them.
No. Listen, we can deal with probability we're blue in the face, but in punditry, in chatting to each other, we're looking.
Yeah, you could say tons of things in punditry, and they don't happen. But it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion of what you think is going to happen.
Saturday afternoon, the Monday to Friday is all about you giving an opinion. Will they survive? All you're dealing with is probability.
Because he's not done the Dundee United dinner yet, have you? Next week.
We're making the distinction here, and it often happens in football, between can and will. Can is always there for any game. Anybody can win, but will is another factor here. And we think, will Dundee United stay up? The answer is no. I mean, the last 7 league games, they've had 5 defeats, 1 draw and 1 win in the last 7 league games. So you're all of a sudden looking at it and going, well, they can win their next 3 or 4 games. Ruffy, they've never done that.
Even the players are coming out this week and saying we deserve to go down. So they're taking it as if they're down.
Mixu Paatelainen, it's almost like saying they're down.
So if the players are giving it that, they say we don't deserve nothing else other than to go down. So if they're accepting that, the manager's accepted it, But you're the only one in Scotland that hasn't.
No, I think there'll be. I would like to think there'll be other people who think that they can survive.
Yeah, and where are they, Rob?
Yeah.
Are they in Alcatraz? Are they?
Any chance you give us a call?
See, let me go back to the very beginning. Let me go back to the very beginning.
It was a carer that told him. The carer said it.
To answer this truthfully, let's go back to. Let's go back to.
I like that.
Let's go back to when they were 13 points behind.
Yes.
And I said, I think they might survive.
Yep.
And you went, you're off your head. Madness. And then they got down to 5 points. And people were starting to say, whoa, this is a bit of a fight. Oh, this is... At one stage, there was...
Yeah.
So at one point you said there's absolutely no chance that that's going to get clawed back
Hold on
to
a minute,
5
can I
points.
clarify something?
But it did.
I've never said they can escape. I've said to you, in this argument with you, I've said, I'm looking at the evidence, I'm looking at the club, I'm looking at individual performances, and collectively as a team, they're going down.
Yeah,
I've been resolute in that.
Yeah, but when it was 13 points, it was a certainty. When it went back down to 5,
But it's, the
then
certainty,
people
the certainty
started
is,
to
the certainty
say...
is they're going down, and I think it's...
Oh, I think there was people in here were beginning. I think we had people in.
No.
Who said, there was people guessing, saying, I think Dundee United might just do that.
I'll give you that.
Because
I'll
you
give you
your
that.
pals.
Yep,
No,
you're
what-
right.
yeah.
There's a
What we
couple of
did
people come in and did say
Yeah.
that. He's right.
What we also said, Peter, we also said that we said in
Is
the
it a cleaner?
we did say in the city circumstances we used the word can because of the circumstances. You're right. We did say it's not over. They can do it.
He's not happy. He's not happy with your line.
Yeah,
you can tell by his face. By the way, having known him for a
I've actually
while.
slipped. I've actually switched off. I'm not listening.
No. There is a fine line where very rarely he does it, but there is a moment when you feel he's verging on a huff. He's verging on a huff with you, Macca. So let's not annoy him too much.
Oh no, I've known him too long. He's never went to huff yet.
Oh dear. Anyway, on the flip side of this, Dundee have a job to do, and they would love nothing better, Macca, than a Dundee derby to say goodbye.
That's the biggest thing for me. I think it will happen today. I think on Monday. I think the boost. Although everyone loves the derbies and the fans love the derbies, can you imagine Dundee putting Dundee United down? It wouldn't get much better than that for the Dundee supporters.
And it could depend on. I mean, we're all taking into account the fact that to a degree that Hamilton will beat Kilmarnock today.
Yes.
If Kilmarnock were to get a win or maybe a draw, it puts even more pressure on Dundee United, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that game today is crucial towards what Dundee United can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, over the course of the afternoon, there'll be more arguments, there'll be huffs, there'll be fallouts. That's what it's all about. I mean, you've got to have an argument and a fallout, and then at the end of it, we'll all be mates, hopefully again before the PFA awards ceremony tomorrow, or it's going to be an uneasy table with nobody speaking to each other. Okay, what about the teams? Let's get back to the aforementioned Hamilton game to see if we can get a quick update from Craig Turnbull on Hamilton against Kilmarnock.
And remain unchanged from that side at 1-3-1 against Dundee United. So they go with Michael McGovern in goal, a back four of Gordon, Lucas, Devlin and Kurakins, McKinnon and Gillespie in holding midfield, with Imrie, Crawford and Docherty supporting Morris up front. On the bench for the Ackies is substitute goalkeeper Alan Martin, Martin Canning, Alex DeCole, Daniel Edmund, Gramos Courtage, Eamon Brophy and Stephen Boyd. For the visitors, as I mentioned, they made 3 changes from the side that lost to Inverness 3-1. Out goes suspended goalkeeper Jamie McDonald, Julian Faubert and Callum Higginbotham, who scored 2 goals in 2 games but finds himself on the bench. In come Connor Brennan, Craig Slater and Josh McGuinness, who's recovered from an ankle knock. So they go with Brennan in goal, a back four of Ahara, Addison, Ballatoni and Hodgson, Slater and Dicker in holding midfield, with Mackenzie, McGuinness, Kilty and Chris Boyd up front. On the bench for Kelly, Devlin McCann is substitute goalkeeper, Stuart Finlay, Alex Henshaw, Callum Higginbotham, Toby Obadiah, Julian Faubert and Adam Frizzell. And the referee for today's game is Craig Thompson.
What do you make of those lineups, Gordon Smith?
Yeah, I think, well, Hamilton, I'm not surprised they've kept their line-up. That was an excellent performance and result for them last week to beat Dundee United. So I thought they would go with the same team. Quite surprised. Kilmarnock, I mean, it was quite funny. They actually took off Higginbotham because they were down to 10 men last week. The surprise for me was that fact, because with the keeper off, they had to bring a reserve goalkeeper on, obviously for the first penalty, and they took off Higginbotham, who had scored their goal, and I thought he's got legs and he's quite mobile, and no disrespect to him, but he left Chris Boyd on in a 10-man team on his own up front, and I would have taken off.
Yeah.
I'd probably taken off Chris Boyd to be down to 10 men. Would you not, Matt?
Well, I would think so, because Boyd, you know what you're getting with Boyd. He'll score goals in the 6-yard box, but he's not going to do any hard the leg work. He's not going to do any runs. He's not going to.
When you're under pressure, do you know what I mean? I was shocked at that, and ended up losing 3-1. And then today he's left. Boyd's back in, obviously, because they're back to 11 aside. McGuinness is fit again, but they've let Boyd's in there because they want to win this game. But they've left Higginbottom out of the team altogether.
Yep, okay, let's switch our attention to Firhill for the teams for Partick Thistle against Inverness Cally Thistle. Derek Clark.
Yeah, 3 changes for Partick, as I mentioned, from last week's defeat to Dundee. In comes Seaborn and Booth from suspension, and David Amu also returns. Out goes Nesbitt, Miller and Elliott, who dropped to the bench. So they line up in what looks like a 4-4-1-1 formation. Scully in goals, back 4 of Dumbuya, Seaborn, Lindsay and Booth. A midfield of Edwards, Welsh, Osman and Amu, with Alulis supporting Doolan up top. On the bench for Thistle this afternoon, Paul Gallagher is the sub-goalie. Then they go with Miller, Franz, Elliott, Nesbitt, Wilson and Pogba. John Hughes makes 2 changes from the side that beat Kilmarnock last week. So out goes Vigers and Williams, in comes Roberts and Mbui Mutombo. So they line up in what looks like a 4-3-3 formation. Fon Williams is a goalkeeper, a back 4 of Meekings, Warren, Devine and Tremarco, a midfield of Draper, Tansey and Roberts, with the front trio of Mutombo, Polworth and Story. On the bench for the Highlanders this afternoon, Ryan Essen is the sub-goalie. Then they go with Williams, Foran, Wedderburn, Horner, Hughes and Raven, and the referee for this one, Ewan Anderson.
Yep, good to see that Derek Clark is human after all. I thought they'd made a signing in Alulis there. I was wondering who he was, Robbie. I was thinking, have they sneaked somebody in that squad that we haven't noticed about?
It's obvious that John Hughes isn't going to play anybody that's not going to be there next year. He's actually, you know, he's picked a side for the future. I'm glad to see that Partick Thistle played a wee boy Doolan right for the start. I think Alan had been putting him on the bench in a couple of games, but he's a guy who's going to score goals for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, coming up in the next part of the programme, we're going to look at the teams of the year, which were revealed yesterday by the PFA Scotland. We'll also look at the nominations for the awards ceremony on Sunday night, get the lads' thoughts on it as we reach the end of the season. The awards are handed out for the players that have excelled, the managers and of course the teams as well. But over the course of the Saturday afternoon, we'll bring you all the goals as they hit the back of the net. Today just one match has finished. It's Hearts 1, Celtic 3. In this break we'll try and get Ruffy out of the huff and in a good mood again. Let's try for that. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Frank McAvenny are with me here. We're discussing, of course, the matches today. One of them has finished already. If you've just joined us, it's Hearts 1, Celtic 3, and Lee Griffiths scoring his 39th goal of the season, and certainly he's picked up a few Player of the Year awards with the club. I think he picked up 3 on the night, and certainly one of the favourites among the candidates for Player of the Year at the awards ceremony tomorrow night. Let's have a look at the nominations for the Player of the Year, because Lee Griffiths is in there with some really good candidates: Kane Hemmings, Johnny Hayes and Greg Stewart. Just a great year, a great season for Dundee, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they played well. I mean, they've got players in there. 3 players, I think, nominated in the team. They're in the team for it. So I think Nathan, he's done really well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's been outstanding. Scored 25 goals, which is incredible. And I think that he'll be a candidate for it. But I can't see past Lee Griffiths.
Macca, Griffiths, you know what it's like to score goals for Celtic. Yeah. He's had a tough time, actually, when you consider a year or so back, where he looked as if he was heading out of Celtic, and then suddenly gets a sniff, gets in there and forces his way into the Scotland setup as well.
Well, you just look at Celtic as a team. Where would they be without Lee's 38 goals? So I'm a fully paid up member of the strikers. I think he's done well. He's done ever so well. Considering he's playing up front on his own, he's doing an awful lot. The boy's got to be a lot fitter than everyone else, Peter, because to do that, it's very hard to play. You know, it's all right doing it some games, but you do it week in, week out. And to be fair, the way Celtic have played this season, he's not been getting much support. You know, they've been on the back foot rather than the front foot. And yeah, I would give it to him. The 2 boys, as Gordon says, from Dundee, magnificent season they've had. And Hayes will know what kind of player he is, but I've got to. Me personally, I'd give it to Griffiths.
As I say, I think the 4 of them have done well, Peter. But what I would say about Griffiths is, and Frank's made a good point about it as well, the goals he scored a lot of goals in a team that's won the league, but not a lot of them have just been finishing off. A lot of them have been individual goals.
He's made them himself.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of crack. Even his goal today, it wasn't a chance. He's won the ball from the defender. He's run out wide, then he's played a nutmeg, cut inside and fired it in. He scored a lot of goals like that, hasn't he? So you got to give him credit for the range of individuality about his goals.
Yeah, I think he scored a nutmeg from the previous game at Tynecastle as well, when he scored there. As far as the team of the year, you mentioned it there, Gordon. 3 Aberdeen players in the midfield of the Premiership team of the year. Ruffy, what do you make of that 11?
Yeah, I agree with the goalkeeper. I think he's a tremendous season. I think he was on the fringe. I think we Gordon took him along to one of the Scotland squads. The defence for me is the one that's not the stick out. You know, there's nobody anywhere in any of the teams who are particularly outstanding. No. But when you go forward to the three in the middle and the 3 up front, there is a bit of quality there. And I agree 100% of the selection in that one as well. I think it's a right good side. It's an attacking side. But defensive for me, doesn't look the greatest on paper.
Gordon?
Yeah, I have to agree with that as well. I think I was quite a surprise. You know, when you look at the boys, pick the biggest surprise to me, and obviously I don't see him as much as his opponents do. But Andrew Davis from Ross County, all credit to him. He won a League Cup medal and he's had a good season. But I would never have thought that he'd have been picked out as a player that was representing the best of the league. But nevertheless, you got to give him credit there to get in that team. He's done well.
I don't know why he's getting any consistency as the boy Tierney, the young boy. I mean, he's been the shine, a bit the shining light to Celtic this season, because he's been outstanding. Him at the back and Griffiths up front, and it's quite right that I know what Gordon's saying about midfield. You'd sort of beat him, but he's been hot and cold. These 2 boys have done it all season, and I think that's what the team of the year is all about. You know, he's done it consistently. Tierney's only 18 or 19. He's only a young boy, and he's just been consistently showing up the rest of the team at Celtic. So credit to the young man.
Yep, and of course, the Aberdeen side, Shea Logan has signed. He's in the team of the year, but he's signed a new deal with Aberdeen, which I think maybe surprised a few people, including Derek McInnes, who thought he might be heading back down south again. And of course, Shea Logan's been quite forthright in his opinion as well. We always like that in the media, Ruffy. If someone comes out and said Rangers are nowhere near good enough, that always helps, and I think it's good for Shea Logan that he lives in the Aberdeen area and he can stay up there, and maybe they can just build a big wall just to protect everybody up there now.
It looked as if he was trying to work a ticket down to England. Obviously his agent would have told him there was possibly clubs interested, but obviously as it is, maybe Aberdeen have just come in and offered him a deal that he's had a look at and obviously said, well, maybe I'm better staying here. I mean, that looks at what it's like from the outside.
Yeah, there are many ways to actually spin something, Gordon. Of course, quite fancy the competition that's coming up, so I think I'll stay here, it'll be good, or nobody's interested in saying
well, it's one name. It is one name because it's a European. He says he's staying for European football. Well, for one game at home, because they don't stay in it too long, do they?
Yeah.
I mean, let's hope that the rest of the teams in Scotland stay in it a bit longer than they have been. But
I think Peter's right.
I think it's right. Nobody's coming from.
If you've got alternatives, because you can leave the Premier League in England and go down to League Two, Premier League in Scotland, go down to League Two in England and earn more money.
I know.
So he must not have any offers.
Gordon, I can let you into a secret, by the way, that Mac is so happy being part of the team here, and he said, I really love it, I'm staying with you, and I said, Macca, I said, that's fantastic, I've known you for so many years, we hung about together when you had red hair, but I said, if somebody comes in with a bigger offer, you'll want that. Tell Ruffy I'm asking for him.
Remember he said that at PartickTHISTLE as well.
Ruffy strikes back. He hasn't started, everyone. We'll be back to see if the electricity comes next.
I'll hold them back.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. I don't know, there's something in the air here. You know, everybody's angry, everybody's complaining, even at New Douglas Park. We have a set of supporters, Craig Turnbull, not too happy with how things are going at Kilmarnock.
Indeed we do, Peter. Just around 5 minutes ago, the fans unfurled a big flag saying back the team, change the regime, clearly frustrated at what's going on behind the scenes at the club. But there seemed to be a real togetherness with the players and the fans. Once the players were leaving the pitch for their warm-up, they were applauding the fans, and the fans in turn were applauding the players. And you have to say it's a good turnout from the Kilmarnock fans today. There must be around 1,500 of them here, so clearly they are right behind their side in this Premiership survival quest.
Okay, who do you think is going to win that match, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, look at the way Accies have played in recent games. Three wins in the last 5 games, so they're certainly the team with momentum. Kilmarnock, how much of a blow that defeat would have been to Inverness last week, and particularly with Jamie McDonald not available with them either. It will be an uphill battle for Killie. I think the Accies will just edge this one 2-1.
Okay, Ruffy, how do you see that one going?
I think I could go either way. I honestly think Kilmarnock will get something out of that game. I know Hamilton had a good result last week, but their home form isn't particularly good. They seem to score more goals away from home than what they do at home, and generally at home it's 1 goal and then see what happens. So I would think Kilmarnock got a draw at that one today.
Yeah, Gordon?
Yeah, I think Hamilton are slightly more consistent though. I think it depends who is most up for it today. Kilmarnock have got more to play for because they're trying to save themselves, but in fairness to Hamilton, they know if they get the win, they are completely safe. So I think that will be a motivational aspect for them. So I think that Hamilton will just get a narrow victory today.
Yeah, man. And am I right in thinking you picked Hamilton to win in this game against Kilmarnock in their quadruple?
No, I didn't.
No, good. It must have been me. so
here we go.
Mark, do you agree with me?
I agree with you. I think Hamilton, the last couple of times they've come out of shops quickly, and and I think they've he's brought a bit of youngsters, a couple of youngsters in. He's given more energy in the midfield, and so yeah, I'm expecting. The heads have been down because Kilmarnock have played well and they've not got nothing out of games, and they must feel as though they're batting their head off a brick wall. So I fancy Hamilton to get a result.
Okay, what about Ross County St Johnstone, Ruffy?
Well, as we all know, Ross County went off the boil there right after that cup game, but still at home. I just think that St Johnstone are so unpredictable. I know they're in the top 6 for I think it's 5 years out of 6 or something like that. But for me, I'm going to go for Ross County.
Gordon?
Yeah, I think to a degree this one falls under the category of being meaningless. Really, it's 5th and 6th in the top half of the league. What they're playing for, other than just pride, maybe a bit of money for the club. So that might be a motivation. St Johnstone generally are better away from home, but I think Ross County, if they've got their squad back together, I know they've been without a few players of late. If their squad's sort of stronger today, I think Ross County will beat them.
Who are you going for, Macca?
I'll go for St Johnstone. Okay,
and let's go to Firhill to find out if Derek Clark has an opinion on Partick Thistle against Inverness Cali Thistle.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Thistle unbeaten in 6 against Inverness here. They've won their last 3 meetings here, so everything points towards a Thistle victory, especially with their new signing, Stephen Alulis up front. I'm sure he'll be causing Inverness a whole load of problems, but I can see Thistle winning this by the odd goal.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, Robbie, when you stick the Lawless's number before it and it looks like a Lewis. So you just read 11 and Lawless together. I know exactly what he's done. I get it. I've been there as a reporter. Although definitely the worst thing ever has to be when your notes blow away in the winter and you can't read the team out and you just have to pad and talk complete nonsense. But that's a Mark Guidi story for another day. Let's get your thoughts then, guys, on Partick Thistle Inverness. Did we get them all?
Well, I went for Thistle in the Cooten, so I fancy them.
I would have gone for Thistle myself, but as I say, you never can tell with Inverness that they are inconsistent, but I think Thistle being the home side will win.
Ruffy?
Yeah, Seaburn back, Booth back, obviously Lawless and Doolan. I'm going to go for a narrow Partick Thistle win.
Ain't it funny, because Inverness won the cup and they went on a terrible run as well. Ross County won the cup and It must be something to do with the drinking up there on the
Yeah,
islands.
well,
St Johnson,
the celebration
St
of it.
Johnson as well, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit this level, and then the expectation increases, and then
Look at Rangers, Peter, since they won the league.
yeah.
I mean, 2 defeats and a draw since they won the league.
They've not done it out yet.
No, that's what I mean. But that is
You can't blame that.
No, the problem is it is a thing in football that if you set goals and you hit goals, unless you get new goals right away, the teams generally fall away. Look at Germany since they won the World Cup, for example.
Yeah.
They hit that level, and then after that, their performances were poor in the games after that, weren't
Just
they?
before I get your thoughts on Aberdeen against Motherwell, can I ask you guys, many a professional footballer tells me it's very difficult for a team who in effect have switched off or gone down through the gears because they've won the league. Can you suddenly just switch it on again for a Scottish Cup final?
You talk about Rangers, I think that because, you can't do it. I keep talking about momentum's a wonderful thing, and to score goals, you go into a cup final, you're going to a cup final on a high because you've won your games. Well, they've just been beaten with Livingston, Alloa. It's not really good to go into a final, so I don't think you can. I mean, I think because we look at Hibernian scored 4 goals a night. They're on a little run now, and they've had a dip, so they've come out it. So it'll be one hell of a final, Peter.
Yeah.
But I would like, if I was the manager, if I was playing the team, I would like to go into games winning the previous couple of games.
Aberdeen against Motherwell, Ruffy, just before the big kick-off here.
Well, the game, obviously, Celtic will be a bit of downer for them now, that score coming through. They would have still believed that it's still possible, but after that result today, so they'll have to pick themselves up. There'll be a big support there today. I think, again, Aberdeen might just win that one narrowly.
Gordon?
It looked to me as if Celtic were almost celebrating today.
Yeah, they were.
They were.
After the game, they were
After
all-
the game,
yeah,
they were
all done,
celebrating.
yeah.
12-point lead. Aberdeen get 4 games in hand, huge goal difference. So whether that could be a downer for them, and Motherwell are a difficult team to play against, because I think one of the weaknesses that Aberdeen have is at the back. And Motherwell, I think they've shown of late they're strong going forward. I think Motherwell can get something from the game today.
I think some, because Derek McInnes came out and said something last week. I thought straight away, that's going to backfire on you, and St Johnson beat them. It was when he came out and says there wouldn't be a title race if it wasn't for my bottlers.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, a manager shouldn't say that about his team,
Yeah.
And
I think he was trying to be sarcastic on it, though. Yeah,
I understand, but some players are. Players are a funny breed. They take things personal, don't they, Ruffy?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it takes an hour before you just come to terms with it. You're absolutely right. So our quadruple, guys, is who picked Aberdeen?
Me.
You've gone for Aberdeen. I picked Hamilton to defeat Kilmarnock. Partick-Thistle against Inverness, Macca, and you've gone for Stranraer against Cowdenbeath, Gordon.
Yes, I just felt Stranraer, if they win today, they are in the playoff.
Yeah.
And if they lose and the teams below them, Airdrie can catch them. So I think they'll be quite highly motivated. So that's why I'm going for
They win the
Stranraer.
day they're in the playoff. If they
Yes.
don't, they're not.
Yes, that's exactly right. No, if they don't, they might still be.
Can they still go?
Yeah. But they have to,
All right.
if they win, they're definitely in it.
Well, it's wonderful sunshine there in Stranraer for the game today, so there's no argument over the conditions that they're playing in, I can tell you. We will keep you up to date with all the goals that hit the back of the net. Here's what you've got to look forward to. Saturday afternoon in the Premiership. One game finished already. Hearts 1, Celtic 3. It's Aberdeen against Motherwell, Hamilton, Kilmarnock, Partick-Thistle, Inverness, and Ross County against St Johnstone, with of course the Dundee derby on Monday night. League One, because the Championship games take place tomorrow. It's Annan Athletic against, there's League One there, just a wee bit of jiggery pokery there. Ayr United against Airdrie, Dunfermline Peterhead, Forfar against Brecon City, Stenhousemuir against Albion Rovers, and Stranraer Cowdenbeath. And League Two, for you this afternoon, Annan Athletic against Queen's Park, Clyde against Stirling Albion, East Fife take on East Stirlingshire, it's Elgin City against Arbroath, and Montrose against Berwick Rangers. What about the Barclays Premier League this afternoon as the games get underway? It's Everton against Bournemouth, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Stoke, Sunderland, Watford, Aston Villa, West Brom, West Ham, and Arsenal against Norwich, 5:30. Let's have a look at the Championship games that we're going to talk about throughout the afternoon. Tomorrow, Alloa against Dumbarton, Falkirk, Morton, Hibs against Queen of the South, Livingston Wraith Rovers and St Mirren against Rangers. Just before we talk about the battle for second place, let me tell you that Kilmarnock have almost scored in the opening minute of that game. I think the shot coming in took a deflection. In fact, the header from the Accies defender just come off the bar. And McGovern, I think, just got a touch on it. They're backing up what Maka was saying earlier about the season the Hamilton Accies goalkeeper's having. But had it not been for the Northern Ireland internationalist there, that could have been the opening goal for Kilmarnock. So it took a deflection. McGovern makes a save, and it's still 0-0 in that game. And a great chance for PARTICKTHISTLE, I can tell you as well. Lawless was in, should have scored. Ruffy, I'm just looking there, he's just dragged the shot wide.
Yeah, he usually scores a spectacular goal. That was too easy for him. But I'm saying, you know, that it's good that he's getting up there. He's supporting Doolan, and I think he's one of the players that's going to leave as well at the end of the season. So he'll want to end with a bang as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, there's going to be. I used to love it in the summer, Mac, if you were a boy, and you used to rush to get the paper to see who you were linked with. No, I mean, 30 years on, and I know that was a lot of rubbish. The players that everybody was linked with, and you thought, oh, they're going to sign for this team. That guy's going to leave. Who's going to come in? There was a tremendous excitement as a boy with these things.
It was a big thing. It was a bit like the draft in America the other night. It was such a big kick up about it, who was going where, and they used to do it, but nowadays they just go, well, I think everyone's the same as us, the media, they just hear whispers, and a little bit of story becomes big headlines.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10, the clubs drop names in, and they're so far removed from who they're going after. But this is one interesting pre-season for me, because Celtic have got to do one awful lot of rebuilding. I think they've got to get rid of a few players. They've got to bring in a lot of players, and Rangers the same. So it's going to be, for me, for the first time for a long time, it's going to be very interesting this pre-season.
Yep, there's a lot of excitement, I think,
on the beach
for the forthcoming season, Ruffy. Even although we've only got the last few remaining weeks here with the cup final on the horizon.
Yeah, and as Maka touched on it briefly there, we're all waiting to see what the challengers are going to do. We're all waiting to see what Celtic's going to do. But I think obviously Aberdeen supporters will be wanting to know if their club's going to sort of push the boat out. Hearts will be looking, the supporters there will have a taste of Europe. They'll be wanting to expectations of players coming in, and Rangers also. So he's right. If you're a supporter at any of these clubs, you're going to have quite an exciting pre-season, because you have to say that if Celtic do what they think we're going to do, then everybody will have to follow suit. I hope it's not spending lots and lots of money and putting them in a mess that some of them were in before, but it's responsible buying. And if you look at what Hearts are doing, they certainly seem to be having a knack of doing that, bringing in players.
Hey, what about that scoreline? Ayr United a goal behind to Airdrieonians, and also Elgin City a goal up on Arbroath.
Well, it was a scenario I was talking about, Peter, that Airdrie are just below, or 2 points below Stranraer in 5th spot, Stranraer are 4th, and Airdrie are playing against a team, Ayr, who basically have nothing to play for today, because they're in the playoffs, they're already made it, and if Airdrie can win and Stranraer don't, then Airdrie can be in the playoffs. So that's why I think that these are big games today. Stranraer against Cowdenbeath and Ayr against Airdrie are big games, and Airdrie have certainly got off to a great start, an early lead.
Yep, absolutely. Good start. If there's a goal anywhere this afternoon, we'll keep you right up to date with it. We will discuss some of the nominations for Players of the Year in each division, and also there's the nominations for Manager of the Year. Of course, I think, Ruffy, you rightly pointed out that there are all sorts of permutations with the Manager of the Year. Here's the nominees for tomorrow's Gala Awards. There you have it: Jim McIntyre, Mark Warburton, Jim McInally and Peter Houston, all worthy candidates, Ruffy.
Yeah, but as you've touched on it there, there's still a lot of things to be played for. There's a lot of cups to be won. But as it stands just now, with the award being out just now, for me, Jim McIntyre winning Ross County, taking them into the top 6 compared to where they were in the previous season is a tremendous achievement. But Mark Warburton's got a chance to win another cup. Alan Stubbs has got a chance to win a cup and promotion. And Peter Houston has done well with the Falkirk squad. So depending on how these things go, you could change your mind very quickly.
Alan Stubbs is not there.
I know.
Sorry.
But it could happen, because he could get promotion and win the cup.
Yeah.
He's not the Manager of the Year. It's just It's a strange one, isn't it? It is a strange one.
It is a vote between all 42 managers, though, Gordon.
I think that gap that Hibs went through an awful bad spell there, and I think if it wasn't for that, Stubbs would be in it.
Well, it's difficult, you know. See when the decision's made, it's a very difficult thing to do because the season is not complete. And I'll give you an example. I'll take you back to the first season I was at Rangers. We won the treble. Jock Wallace was the manager, and the manager of the season was Billy McNeil. Right. So,
what's your point?
A treble winner. So you win 3 trophies and you don't get manager of the year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So because the trophies were not decided till late on. The league was won the last day of the season. A week later was the cup win, but the manager of the season was already chosen, and Billy McNeil got it. So what I'm saying to you is that a lot of the times, Aberdeen are a goal up in Motherwell, by the way. Aberdeen have scored.
Yep, Aberdeen get the opening goal.
Yeah, but a lot of the times, Peter, that as I say, decisions are made on, say, a manager. Sometimes even from a player point of view, they're made in advance of before things are actually completed for the season. You know what I mean? Many times you've seen sometimes a player doesn't get player of the match and he ends up scoring like 3 goals in the last 10 minutes of a game, and somebody else has been made man of the match.
Ruffy, Kenny McLean with the goal from the penalty spot against Motherwell, so the Dons get the perfect start.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a penalty kick.
No, I didn't think so. I thought it was
a surprise one. But no, he stepped up and he's given them the lead, so it'll be a hard one for Motherwell now, trying to pin that one.
That's what happens when you get put into the team of the year. You just step up your confidence.
The guys will tell you when you're at a club and the voting papers come through, there's some ridiculous discussions goes on in the dressing room before you actually put a hand across against somebody's name.
Well, that's what happened to me the other night at Celtic, the Player of the Year. The biggest laugh of the night was when Cassie and Richard come up the screen, and all the players were coming up and who they voted for, who they were voting, who they think was the Player of the Year, and Cassie and Richard come up and says, my nominee for Player of the Year is Carlton Cole. And I thought it was hilarious.
Is that what he said?
That's what he says. The whole place nearly dropped off. It was embarrassing, but it was funny. You could see he was just taking the mic.
I
always remember, Peter, I think I've told you about it, and I know you're a big fan of it, was when I was in Brighton and they were choosing the Player of the Year. Everybody sat down, we all got our forms at the same time, everybody just went, Douglas, right? That was it.
I know.
First name on the first name on the sheet, and then it was like, who's the other 10? You know what I mean? It was just Ken Douglas's name just went in every single sheet of paper.
And you know what's funny about it all? You know, I can remember, and this probably actually, goes back to this next point I'm going to make to you guys. But Douglas, I can remember before he signed for Liverpool, they was thinking, I mean, who's this guy from Scotland? I mean, who can replace Keegan? He's a genius, you know. I think it took Kenny about maybe 40 odd minutes. Scored the first goal and never looked back.
Still can't understand him down there.
And another thing I was going to say to you, Macca, is what must the St Mirren fans be feeling now, looking and thinking, we had Riyad Mahrez on trial at St Mirren. What went wrong?
I know.
Why didn't we sign him? As Adrian's go 2-0 up on you.
Bring your bike back. That's what I'd say. First that bike, somebody gets.
That he got on a bike. Too cold for him. Paisley was too cold for him.
That guy might have a good case that lost his bike to get some money out of that.
You need a bike. The training ground was really, well. Then it was right in the airport, wasn't it? It was in the airport grounds.
That's the thing. If it's that cold, why would you go away in a bike?
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't wait to get to the airport. You couldn't wait to get to the airport. It didn't pay him enough.
What age was he?
I didn't say, I don't know.
Yeah, it must have been a young.
So it could have been a 3-wheeler.
I'll tell you the strange thing about it is, you can always look, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. Players suddenly can develop in a certain way and just, suddenly move on to a whole new level. And that's certainly the case with Riyad Mahrez, because there was a period where he wasn't even getting in the Le Havre side in France. Now he's the PFA Player of the Year. There's a goal at New Douglas Park, and it's Hamilton 0. Kilmarnock 1, Craig Kilty scores the goal. What a strike it is as well. Right foot right into the top of the net. And the Killy fans are absolutely delighted, Ruffy. Boy, he caught that one sweet, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did. And he's been a young player that's went into the team, and good performances, and capped it with that goal there. But their problem is now trying to hold on to that. But as I said earlier, I just think Hamilton don't have 2 goals in them at home. But remains to see what happens in the rest of the game.
Yep, and I tell you, Everton took the lead against Bournemouth, but it's now 1-1 in that game. And the reason why I'm mentioning that so quickly off the back of it, Gordon, is quite simply the Everton job, they reckon, is going to come up in the summer. David Moyes, I think, would jump at the chance of going back to a Premier League club, let's be honest about it. I'm not so sure Everton will go for him and take him back. I'm not sure the fans would accept David Moyes after Roberto Martinez.
Yeah, that can happen often, because what happens is the fans don't like your manager leaving you and walking out and going somewhere else. And David Moyes made it very clear that he wanted to better himself, went to Manchester United. So a lot of them might not be happy about him coming back, but they need to look at it and think he did a great job for them while he was there. I mean, he actually strengthened them, brought in good players. Martinez had Everton going for a while there, and a lot of the fans were speaking very highly of him.
Well, the biggest problem at Everton for David is he kept them top six every year. He was getting, he was challenging for Europe every year, keeping the top six. They weren't playing the best kind of football that the Everton fans wanted. So Martinez come in. Now they're playing great football, but they're not getting to the position that David Moyes got his team to. So.
But there was one stage, as Gordon said there, we were sitting here talking about Martinez getting a top Spanish job.
Yes, of course.
I
think he's still doing things right, but something's happened. If the players, I don't know if the players are against him. I don't know, but just little things, especially in the Premiership down there, Alan. It's little things is the difference between the bottom half and the top half. It's such a fine margin.
I think the most important thing that Davy said when he spoke to us was he wants to win things. He's been at clubs now, and he wants to actually win things.
There's a goal for Inverness, and it's Tremarco. Inverness on the break there, catching out PARTICKTHISTLE, and it's just been played into the box by Roberts. And there's Tremarco, just in calm as you like, side foots it into the back of the net marker. I mean, this is a fullback. Good goal.
That's a fullback. Good goal for a fullback. Yeah, it's we've seen the fullbacks do it so many times at Rangers, but you don't expect it. From Inverness, but I'm gutted because I took Thistle on our sheet, Peter. So I'm hoping the Thistle can come back. It's still, as Ruffy says, still early. 14 minutes.
Here's a goal that's crucial, and for the obvious reasons of this playoff place, Clyde have taken the lead against Stirling Albion. Gordon.
Yeah, that's also very important too. But as I say, there's exciting games in that division today, and. Still in Albion, we're hoping at one stage to get up there as well. They've just sort of fallen away slightly on it, but Clyde are still in that position. They're actually, Clyde are fourth at the moment, and they've obviously got a big. Annan have got Queen's Park today, probably a harder game, but at least Clyde now have a lead, and if they can just win that game today, then they are in the playoffs.
Yep, David Marsh scoring the goal for the Bully Wee, and pleasing Barry Ferguson. Okay, we've looked at the Manager of the Year nominations at tomorrow night's ceremony. What about the overall championship for tomorrow? Falkirk and Hibs, Ruffy, are in a good old ding-dong battle. Alan Stubbs, I'm sure, would love to just pip Falkirk. He's tried to play the mind games. Peter Houston's not falling for it. I think Peter Houston might be looking and thinking Hibs could rack up a few goals against Queen of the South, but all he needs to do is make sure they get enough of a win against Morton.
Yeah, I would say possibly Falkirk have got the harder task. We've seen Morton, who have done tremendously well coming up this year. They're the kind of side that could go and spoil a game, that they're not easy to turn over, whereas I think Queen of the South could be turned over, no manager, coming to the end of the season, Hibs have got it all to go for. But if Falkirk were to score, obviously 4 goals is a big ask in any game, and I think it'll be really, really tight, and I think the difference could be possibly 1 goal.
Yep, okay. Well, that would be very interesting. That's the great thing about getting to the end of the season. You get those little twists and turns. And again, in the Championship, I can't pick somebody in the playoffs now because I think it's also tight. Wraith Rovers have had a great run of form under Ray McKinnon. Peter Houston, I think, is just working wonders. I think he's worthy of a bigger job, Gordon.
Yeah.
And then you've got Alan Stubbs, who I think it's been a really good season, despite the fact that Rangers have pipped them to the Championship.
Absolutely, and it's been an exciting Championship. There's no doubt about it, because you've got Rangers comfortably won it in the end up, but below that you've had a real good battle on between Falkirk and Hibs. And Wraith Rovers, as I say, we don't write them off, because a lot of people are saying that Wraith Rovers will be a real test for anyone in that playoff. They can't just suddenly say it's between Falkirk and Hibs, because Wraith Rovers have played very good football. So I would say that we'll get some good games coming up. I think they start this week, this midweek, don't they? The games, first game, Wraith Rovers will be playing either either Falkirk or Hibs.
Yep. Let's look at the nominations for the Championship Player of the Year, because there are 4 good candidates there, all worthy of the final 4 places. It's Rangers against Hibs in this one. John McGinn, Martin Waghorn, Jason Cummings and Lee Wallace-Macca.
It's strange for a full league that there's only 2 teams picked. For the midfield, it's normally you get more players than that, but you've got to give credit. That's the 2 of them been the strongest. You know, I think maybe a couple of Falkirk players will be disappointed not getting into the midfield there, but you know, it's one of these situations. Waghorn get picked because he was scoring all the goals and he got injured at a bad time. He'd have scored an awful lot more. But yeah, you've got to say Cummins. They're good nominations. You can't say they're not, but you know, it's just strange that there's only 2 teams out of the whole league.
Yeah, Dunfermline have scored. Joe Cardle has scored in that match against Peterhead, so the Pars are a goal up. What about the Championship Team of the Year, Ruffy? We had a look at it yesterday on the programme. What do you make of that lineup?
Yeah, I thought again a good choice for the goalkeeper. I think he's one for the future up at Aberdeen when eventually they decide that he is ready to be the number 1. I actually thought the Championship back 4 was stronger than the Premiership back 4. I thought that with Tavernier and Wallace in there, I like the boy Peter Grant. I think he could go to another level. And Dan McGregor has been fantastic. I think Rangers will be really sitting looking at themselves wondering who made that decision to let him go, because I certainly think he's as good as, if not better than, the 2 that are playing for Rangers at this moment in time.
Yeah, Gordon Smith, I suggested on last night's programme, I think the Championship Team of the Year could beat the Premiership Team of the Year.
It's funny you say that. I was looking at that thinking the same. I think that's a strong team. Yeah, it is a very strong team. I think they would certainly be a good match between the 2. I think they should actually do that. They should actually have a special friendly between the best.
But wouldn't it be great as a gala finish to the season if you had the players in this kind of a celebrity, you know, the big thing, just to get them in it, you know, for that final playoff? It's almost like the NFL, as you were talking about, where you get, you know, people, what is it they call it again, going into the All-Star game?
I think it is. I think it's called the All-Star game. Yeah. Would you call that All-Star game? Yeah, the All-Star game.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm just delighted with that team there, because I'm just over the moon that a guy called Grant is in there, and it's Peter's boy, and the boy can play football, you know, unlike his dad. You know, it was really good. really.
Just remember at this time that the views of Frank McAvenny are not necessarily the views of the entire team here.
He's my mate. He's all right. He's okay.
The pointer.
He's my mate.
Peter's the pointer, but his boy is a no-nonsense defender.
Well, do you know what we could do? We've not got enough of him. We don't have enough of, and he had a bad injury, as we've heard, but. You know, I don't think Scotland's got enough just defenders that go. Defending's all, but it's their own job, you know. Go and defend. A lot of people want to play and want to become midfield players and want to even go up front. And I just think it's an art in its own, Peter. And the boy is learning how to defend, and I think it's great. You know, don't take chances. And I think he could go far, as Ruffy says.
Just in case you've joined us and you were wondering about the early kick-off today, it's Hearts 1, Celtic 3 is how it finished. I think the Celtic players celebrating at the end. They know that depending on what happens at Pittodrie, they will be champions. 5 in a row for Celtic, and Lee Griffiths scoring a 39th goal today for Celtic in that 3-1 victory. Ronnie Dyla has been speaking to the press after the game and just basically said, if you stay together, supporters, players and the rest of the club, then we are so hard to beat, and we saw that today. Didn't see it on a regular basis any other day, Ruffy. I think that's what cost him his job. No matter what way you look at it, there was always going to be what I call a spin of Ronnie Dyla's decided he's leaving, rather than Ronnie Dyla's been told he's leaving.
Yeah, he seems to be a wee bit more relaxed now. He's going to the media conferences, he's cracking jokes.
Yeah, he's got to Real Madrid, he says this morning, the papers was great.
That was a big joke.
You're a hard man, Ruffy.
Yeah.
But no, I think when you're in Celtic, you're touching distance of winning the league. You're relaxed, the players are relaxed, but I don't think that was why they won the game today. I think it was poor defending for the two goals with Hearts that lost that game. I think Celtic were possibly just the better side, but it wasn't like a one-way game, you know, where they never showed that they were far superior than Hearts. They just got the goals at the right time.
Yeah, I think Hearts for next season is going to be an interesting proposition as well, Gordon Smith, because I've been so impressed with what they've done all through the season, the way they've handled things off the pitch, the PR, dealing with anyone who tries to tarnish the club's name. Anne Budge and the board were on it immediately, banning people, and also over and above that, responding to the fans. The season ticket prices for next season frozen. Players brought in, good brand of football, 16,000 fans regularly at the home games. They're all buying into it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think what Hearts have done is they've bettered the club on and off the field. And I think that's a big factor in terms of how the structure going forward. The fans are going to take over the club, and Budge basically putting money in there in order to protect the club, in order that the fans can raise the money. But I wouldn't be surprised if she stays on, because if I was part of the fan groups, I would want Anne Budge still to be there. Not just for the fact that she's got a bit of money and she put money in, but she's actually taken and I would say managed the club to a very, very good degree. She brought in the right guy. Robbie Nielsen's done a great job. I know he goes out all the time. He's looking for players to try and improve. He's looking in Scotland and he's looking elsewhere. They're going to strengthen the team. And I think that today they showed that they played very well against Celtic. As the guys were saying, bad defensive. The reason they lost goals today was because in the second half they did change it about and they attacked Celtic. And what happened was they were caught out a little bit twice in the two goals that Celtic got by, last man getting caught in the ball, and Celtic took advantage of it and scored. It wasn't to do with the Celtic outplayed them to get the goals. It was bad mistakes, to be fair, and that's maybe an area they need to strengthen. But I think that Hearts, give them all the credit. They got promotion, the company's in a stable position, and they've got third place and they've got European football. So you have to say that all round, as a business, they've done a great job.
Brilliant. Yeah. They would have took that at the beginning of the season, Peter. All they wanted, probably, their remit at the start of the season was stay there and get a season in the Premier League, and they've done better than anyone could expect. So you've got to give credit to the manager there, because that's different class the way he's been playing, getting close to play football as well.
It'd be interesting to see where that small bit of resentment in Robbie Nielsen comes from. I'm not saying it's massive, but it is there.
Supporters.
It is there. I just feel
That bit of
a bit of resentment. I don't know what it is. I'm not talking about that aeroplane thing. Forget that.
Yeah.
But there are segments of the Hearts support think that they possibly deserve somebody bigger than Robbie Nielsen.
Yeah, I must admit, I have to say.
But that's an expectation of them doing particularly
of course,
well.
that's what happens.
I'm not so sure. I speak to a lot of Hearts friends of mine in Edinburgh. They're more than happy with what's been achieved in the season. If there are dissenters, I think, I think their expectations are way beyond the reality, if that's the case. But let's have a look at the latest scores, just to keep you right up to date if you've got a coupon on. Hearts 1, Celtic 3, Aberdeen 1, Motherwell 0, Kenny McLean with the goal there. Greg Kiltie scored a cracker for Kilmarnock there, a goal up on Hamilton Accies at New Douglas Park. And there, Carol Tremarco scored for Inverness KILMARNOCK at Partick Thistle's ground. So it's Partick Thistle 0, Inverness 1. Still no goals between Ross County and St Johnstone. What about League One? Ayr United 0, Airdrieonians 2, Dunfermline 1, Peterhead 0, and no goals in the 3 remaining matches as of yet. League 2 in Scotland, Annan Athletic 0, Queen's Park 0, Clyde a goal up on Stirling Albion. No goals between East Fife and East Stirlingshire, and Elgin City with the lead against Arbroath, and Montrose against Berwick Rangers 0-0. What about the Barclays Premier League today? Everton 1, Bournemouth 1 is the latest score. And in the other matches, Newcastle against Crystal Palace, Stoke, Sunderland, Watford, Aston Villa, and West Brom against West Ham. It's 0-0. And Arsenal against Norwich at 5:30 is a very interesting one, because suddenly, for the first time in many a season, there are Arsenal fans saying, Wenger out.
Do you know what? I quite agree with him, because he's done a magnificent job. But Peter, there's been money there. to bring in players, and he's refusing to do it. And I just think when everyone round about you see your Chelsea's build up, they were nothing compared to what Arsenal were. Man City's and everyone round about them. And with the top teams not doing well this year, the fans are saying, look, we've had enough because all this tippy-tappy, they're not shooting. You just want somebody to score a goal. You want somebody to shoot. Sometimes, you see Aguero, what a great striker he is at Man City. He's not afraid to have a shot for the edge of the box. And these players, the Walcotts and that, they're not doing it. And I just think it might be time for him. You hear former players saying, might be time for a change. He's been there such a long time, and I think the fans really adore him at Arsenal, but they're getting now over the edge now. They're saying enough's enough.
Can he survive this summer?
It's hard to say. I mean, his achievement always has been the fact that Arsenal get in the Champions League.
He thinks that's not good enough for
I know,
Arsenal.
he does. I know, but he thinks that is because what he's done is he's put the club in a strong financial position. He hasn't spent. They bring in fortunes, and he doesn't spend as much as he could. He's trying to build that way. So I can imagine at board level and all that, he gets a lot of credit for that. Do you know what I mean? And he gets them in the Champions League. But you're right when you say, I think a lot of the Arsenal fans, and I felt this year that the whole Leicester factor is strong to say they could have won the league this year. Yeah. And I think they could have won the league this year.
I think so.
I can tell you, Niall McGinn has scored for Aberdeen. They're 2-0 up now on Motherwell. So I can tell you also at New Douglas Park, Hamilton is just starting to come back into that match against Kilmarnock. Whether they can get the all-important equaliser, only time will tell. But Aberdeen in a commanding position now, Ruffy.
Yeah, you have to say it was always vulnerable when it was 1-0. That was their downfall this time this year when they were winning 1-0, trying to see out games and losing goals or losing penalties late on. 2 points, wasted in a lot of games. So to get the second goal, you would like to think that the confidence there would be going to be going to win it.
When he'll want them to go and say, look, let's go to Celtic Park next week and get a win. And if Celtic win the league, which they're celebrating like they've won it, but mathematically I think
it's over.
It's over. But let's go and beat them next week, win more games, and make it as close as possible. That Celtic win the league, but it's as close as possible.
Still three games to go.
Still 3 games to go.
What's the goal difference?
12. I know.
37.
You know what?
Isn't it amazing? Even Maka just blanked you and thought, no, I understand where you're going. I'll just keep going and deal with the facts here. Let me tell you, Aston Villa have taken the lead. How many times have I said that on this programme? Not many. Kieran Clark scoring the goal for Villa against Watford. And there is a club, no rush at the moment to get the manager in. Still speculation over who's going to get it. Still speculation over what Randy Lerner's intentions are, Gordon.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do there because they've moved managers about a fair bit in recent years, so I don't think there's any consistency to that. Would MD really, I mean, maybe if you're desperate for a job, you might consider it, and the fact you're in the Championship could make you one of the strong teams down in that area with the sort of money they've got. But he's certainly not been the kind of chairman or owner that I think that most managers would want to work for. Yeah.
Guess what? Here's a great question for you three guys. Guess how much? Now I'm not talking about overall, split of the rewards of other sponsorship deals and money that they will get. Guess how much money Leicester City will get from the TV money if they clinch the Premier League title this season? What cheque will they receive from the TV money? Hazard a guess.
45 million.
45 million, says Gordon.
Maybe more than that, possibly.
Yeah, what do you think, Maka?
50, maybe.
50 million, going above you just so that they can say, well, there you are. And Ruffy?
I'll go for 25 million.
25 million now. The good thing about Ruffy is Ruffy's being shrewd about this, thinking to himself, can I restore my credibility after the Dundee United saga and people start to look at me in a different light? No, he can't. 93 million. 93 million pounds.
Wow.
That's incredible. And now we're all looking at that figure, Ruffy, and that is the problem that we have in this country now, because it's going to be so difficult to try and even scratch the surface of European football when you have Leicester City getting 93 million
as a bonus.
As a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we see it all over the world now, that even the smaller countries that are in the Champions League are spending £6 million in players, you know, and bringing players from all over the place. The spending that we have now is no longer there, and that's a big problem that Celtic's got, and how to compete with that.
You know the problem I've got with Celtic is they're spending money.
Macca, there's a goal at New Douglas Park. Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2.
Kilmarnock 2.
And it's Greg Kiltie who looks as if he's the man. Boyd's just floated it through. Kiltie's there, and he's lifted it over the top of Michael McGovern. I'm just looking at the replay on it. Cool as you like, into the back of the net. And that is a massive boost there. And suddenly, the Dundee United players will be deflated even before they take to the field at Dens Park, Gordon Smith.
Absolutely. I mean, that was earlier on we were talking about it. I said that it's not just about what Dundee United do in their game against Dundee on Monday. It's also crucial what's happening today at New Douglas Park. And I said if Kilmarnock win, Dundee United are in real trouble then to have any thoughts at all about staying up. Then, you know, Kilmarnock, that would boost their hopes of getting out of that playoff place as well. It gets them closer to Hamilton. We said it was a cup final for Hamilton today. A win today for Hamilton would have made... it would actually made them safe in the Premier League. But if Kilmarnock go on and win this game now, Hamilton aren't safe yet from the playoff position, but Dundee United are in major trouble.
Ruffy?
I would agree with that. I said that. They wouldn't go to Monday night. I thought Kilmarnock would take something out of that game today. But it also brings Partick Thistle, the way the results are just now. It brings them into trouble as well with the remaining games. You know, they'll only be about 3 or 4 points with these teams to play. But again, you know, you're looking at Partick Thistle, Hamilton, everything. Man, it makes the last 2 or 3 games really exciting.
Yeah, well, West Ham have taken the lead at West Brom, and I think that will automatically result in a huge smile coming across Frank McAvenny's face. I mean, look at that. Give him your Frank McAvenny smile. There you are.
Brilliant.
The Frank McAvenny smile with the teeth out and with the teeth in. West Ham take the lead, and I think it's all rosy in that garden, Macca, because you know there's a move to the Olympic Stadium as well.
It's great. They got the right man in. I didn't think they'd have got the fans to follow him with Big Sam. Nobody enjoyed watching the football, although he was keeping in the league and all that, as they kept saying. But West Ham's a bigger team than that. I've always said that. They're a bigger team. They deserve to be up challenging for the European places. And then they moved to the new stadium. They've already sold 40,000 season tickets. They've got 22,000 in reserve. So it's there. And,
the new stadium hold? What many?
60,000, I think.
60,000. 60,000.
So it's tremendous that they're going to go there, and you know. And there's a lot of people saying, "Well, they shouldn't have got it," but Peter, it's just lying there. It's an eyesore if it wasn't getting used. And it's getting used now, and it's just so much. It's so much easier. It'll be so much easier to get to the ground now for the fans, away fans, home fans. All to get to Stratford is a lot easier than what it is to get to Green Street.
What would they do up in Park? What would they do with it?
Probably a temple or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Housing or something.
I love playing there, but I would have much preferred them to build on that.
Yeah.
Will you be one of those characters that will buy one of the old seats, Macca, take it home and stick it in your house as a memento?
No, I don't want. They're not. Well, they're going to auction them. So I had my tournament down there, so I'm hoping they don't rip the pitch up because at the end of the season, because I have my tournament after it. I do a tournament for 3 days down there. Yeah. And it's great, and it's good, and if they go in and rip the pitch up, then that won't happen. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it for 3 days? Or
3 days. Yeah.
And of course, just your close friends are going.
It's people come and play on the pitch, and what they do is we get them out and they bring them out to the music and all that, and it's great that the club let me have it, obviously the pitch at a discounted rate, so it makes it, it's a company that runs it, and I just put my name to it, obviously. Yeah, well, we're happy with that, Macca. We're happy that everything's going well for you. Yes. And we have to pay Ruffy if we want to come down to that tournament. It's as simple as that. Ruffy doesn't want to play anymore. He's lucky he's talking to you on this programme, to be honest with you. Now that Kilmarnock have consigned Dundee United, I think, they're staring at the trapdoor now, Gordon Smith. That is an absolute cert.
I mean, that becomes an 11-point gap if Kilmarnock win this game today before Dundee United play. Obviously, Kelly will only have less games because of the same number at the moment. But you look at the point system and you just think it's not going to happen.
No, we've talked about the Championship Team of the Year. We've also discussed the nominations. What about the League One nominations first and foremost? There are 4 good candidates there, some with experience and well known. Joe Cardle, Rory McAllister's in there again. I'm really looking forward to seeing him tomorrow night to see what state he's in. Fasil El Baktui and Greg Spence. There's your 4 players. And I think some of those players will attract attention, Ruffy, because of their performances, because they're in the final 4.
Yeah, I think Baktui is already attracting attention. We're hearing that Dundee and possibly Hibs, who might lose Jason Cummins. You know, he looks as if he'd be an ideal replacement with it. But it's all about money as well. You would just hope that if he is still in contract and Dunfermline do get something out of the deal.
I'd be lost him if he goes though, because he's a tremendous season. I think he'll get the Player of the Year. I think that there's the other good Cardle's got a very good case. He scored again today actually against Peterhead. He's got the goal for them. But I think that Baktui, looking at the goals, him and McAllister have scored the same amount of goals at that level, but Baktui hasn't scored any penalties. They're all like goals from normal play, and I think that puts him ahead of him.
You've got to say this boy Spence as well, is it? At Cowdenbeath, it's not the most glamorous team, so there's better players at Dunfermline. They will argue. So he's doing a great job, but he's been up because he went to Celtic and it was just a wee bit step too early for him, and he didn't do it. And it just shows you can go there, step back down the league to a lower division or two down, and make a name for yourself and get that move again.
Yeah,
it might just be the right time for him.
Yeah, here's the League One Team of the Year as well for us to cast our eye over. What do you make of that, Gordon?
I think it is a strong side. I think that you look at it and you go, well, you know, all these teams are up there competing. You know, Cowdenbeath. That's why I think Mac is absolutely spot on with the boy Spence, because he's playing the team who are not challenging for a playoff place. Everyone else there is in a playoff or a league championship place team. So he's the only one that isn't, and so you've got to give him credit. But as I say, that it's been an exciting league as well. But I think that, as I say, I would probably think that Baktui is going to get it.
Yep, okay, and as far as League Two is concerned, it's certainly been an entertaining division all season. We've been struggling to separate certain teams bottom and top. Here's the nominations for the Player of the Year at the ceremony tomorrow night at the Hilton. Nathan Austin, Bobby Lynn, Kyle Wilkie and Peter Weatherson. I'm delighted to see Bobby Lynn and Peter Weatherson in the final 4, Ruffy. Peter Weatherson will hang up the boots at the end of the season.
Yeah, and what a servant he's been, not only to that club, every other club that he's been with, and to keep yourself in that condition and continue to score goals. And we had Jim Chapman in during the season there, and he was saying what a wonderful guy he is to have about the place, and all the players respect him for what he's done in the game. And you have to say, sentimentally, you would want him to win that.
A wee bit of sentiment coming in there, because as we know, Gordon, Ruffy is a big softie. You know, I mean, he would have been crying at every Disney movie that was ever released.
Yeah, well, it's a mark. If he's retiring, it would be a great mark of honour for him to get it in his last season.
Never got over Bambi, do you know?
I won't
be crying if all that turf gets ripped out of West Ham.
There must be very few players get it in their last season of the game, get a Player of the Year in the last season in football.
Yeah, great.
To actually get a Player of the Year.
He may want to stay on.
Well, he might, but that would be a great mark of respect if he got that.
It would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the League Two Team of the Year. There you have it, Ruffy. Have a look at some of the players in there as Clyde go 2-0 up on Stirling. They're doing their job in the second division. The fourth division, I beg your pardon, League Two. What do you make of that team?
Yep, again, we're talking about Peter Weatherson's there, Nathan Austin's there as well. Chris Smith's been about for a long, long time. And again, Gary Naismith, I mean, I don't even know what age Gary is, but to be playing in there, you know, and also being the manager of the team as well is fantastic. To be at the level that he was at and still continuing to have the appetite to play at that level. Well,
I've run into him on more than a few occasions, Gordon. He still keeps himself super fit.
Yeah, I think that's the main aspect of it. He loves playing, wants to play, so I think he's done fantastically well. He was a top class player. I mean, even his prime, he could play, and he's dropped the divisions and he can still do it. If you keep yourself fit, with the experience you've got, you can continue to play at that level, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Macca, you just got to keep yourself fit. You've got to stay
That's
active,
what
Macca.
you've got to do, yes. That's why we play sixes, Peter. Just keep the mind sharp and just do it. And it's something that Ruffy doesn't do. He just sits and drinks.
You used to like
plays tennis.
playing
He
outside.
plays tennis, he does.
Well, as a goalkeeper, and I know a number of goalkeepers are like this, Ruffy. You used to like playing 5-a-sides and 11-a-sides and coming out and actually playing as an outfield player.
That's because when you're training, you know, if you like playing, everybody loves scoring goals.
Goalkeepers.
Being a
Goalkeepers always
you
do
love hitting the back of the net, and I just like playing out. I mean, there are some goalkeepers who couldn't have played out at all.
Yeah.
No.
But enough about
But
Jim
they still but they still think they can play. You know,
yeah, were you any good out? Because a lot
I used to love
reports
playing out,
are that you were a useful player out.
I used to play outfield. I was all
funny
right.
thing was,
When did you
Peter,
stop? Is it your injury or was it to stop playing?
Well, no, I
Because
was
there's still boys running about your age.
at what?
No,
sixes?
just keeping yourself fit. Yeah, keeping yourself fit at 5-a-sides and things like
Yeah,
that.
and by the way, Ruffy, because we know the
Don't
way.
look at us like that. you
Yeah,
know it.
well, I was going to say, because we know the style of your movement or lack of movement at the tennis, you could easily play 6-a-sides. Easily,
And
Ruffy.
I just couldn't handle the bickering that goes on at that sixes and you all talking to each other behind your back.
I held on. I was in a hurry the other day. I didn't want to leave the changing room.
I would actually say to you that a certain Ali McCoist doesn't leave the dressing room first, second or third in case he gets absolutely slaughtered. What about Annan, Queen's Park? Suddenly we've got this battle. Annan have taken the lead against Queen's Park.
yeah, that's a big factor, that, because as I say, Annan obviously on 53 points, sitting in 5th spot at the moment. Clyde, though, are winning 2-0, so they're comfortable enough. So Annan, I don't know how the goal difference is with Queen's Park. If Queen's Park lose and Annan win, they've been the same points. But how's the goal difference with that in that division, Peter?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now because I had it up there just to have a
I'm
quick
going to
look at
tomorrow.
it. And Clyde.
54 of a difference before the
54.
today's games.
It's 4 plus 4, so yeah, could be tight.
It's going to be tight. And guess who scored the goal for Annan, Ruffy? Peter Weatherson.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I mean, you want to finish up your career with everything that's available, and certainly if he was to get the Player of the Year and they were to get into the playoffs, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, Peter Weatherson still knows the way to goal. He's one of those, what I call old-fashioned style centre forwards. We don't see too many of them now. Just a big, tall, physical presence, can score goals with the head, but makes a nuisance of himself as well.
Well, you know, old style centre forwards are good at that. They just make a complete nuisance of themselves. And I've always said, you know, you're playing up front and you not always have a good game, Peter, but you can contribute to the team. And I don't see a lot of today's strikers doing that. You can always make a contribution.
Yeah.
Because getting players to kick the ball quicker than what they should. Don't let them settle on the ball. And you don't see many players do that now.
Yeah.
I like old-fashioned centre forward players like Tony Watt. I've always liked him.
Yeah. Hey, Macca, Kilmarnock almost added another one there. Gary Dicker with the shot from 25 yards. But again, just not finding the back of the net. It's half-time at Firhill. Let's go there now. Derek Clark.
Half time here at Firhill, it's Partick 0, Inverness 1, and it's Carol Tremarco who's the unlikely hero for the Highlanders. The left back broke the deadlock in 14 minutes when he latched onto a Mutombo pass to run in on goal and fire past Skilly in the Partick goal. But that goal aside, Inverness have rarely troubled the Thistle backline. Partick have enjoyed a lion's share of possession and have come close on a few occasions. Stephen Lawless fired just wide early on, while Sean Welsh fired a long range strike just over the bar and forced a decent save out of Fawn Williams with a well struck free kick. They could consider themselves unlucky to be going in at half time behind here, but John Hughes won't give a monkeys about that as the teams go in at the break. It's Partick 0, Inverness 1.
Okay, we'll bring you the half-time scores across the country very shortly indeed. Just before the break, I've written down 3 players that I think are classic old-style centre forwards from the last 30, 40 years. Can you give me them? These are my 3 favourites.
Scottish, the Scottish?
One of them's in English, 2 English and 1 Scottish.
Joe Jordan.
Joe Jordan.
Yeah.
Yep. and the other two are English.
To English.
Yeah, and both of them played in Scotland.
Fashion you?
No,
Justin Fashion, no.
no, no.
They played in Scotland.
Yeah,
Sutton.
yes,
Chris Sutton.
Chris Sutton.
John Hartson.
no.
John's good at
A
holding the
real,
ball,
a
but-
real nuisance of a player, but great at holding it in, flick-ons, linking up, scoring goals as well. Just fantastic to watch and fearsome.
Mark Haitley.
Yes, Mark Haitley,
Right.
who again, Mark off the field, one of the nicest guys you could ever meet.
Yeah.
On the field. Wow, he would rip your head off.
Yeah,
It's fair
he
to
certainly
say.
comes into that category.
Yes.
Definitely.
And a good, very, very good player.
Aye,
Yeah.
he was.
You know, I can tell
That
you,
was,
it's a big game there at New Douglas Park. We're going to be speaking to Craig Turnbull shortly, just after the break, to get his thoughts on that game. There are implications at the bottom end from that game at New Douglas Park. They're leading at the moment by 2-0. Other goals coming in. Watford have equalised. In fact, let's go to New Douglas Park and get that report from Craig Turnbull.
Half time here at New Douglas Park. It's Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2, and Greg Keelty double has Kilmarnock on course for a vital win. The first one came after 11 minutes when there seemed to be a bit of confusion as to whether the ball went out or not. Keelty wasn't hanging about. He drove in, cut onto his right foot and slammed the ball into the top corner. He doubled Kilmarnock's lead on 32 minutes. Good play from Chris Boyd, and he played in Keelty, who just side-footed the ball past McGovern to put Kilmarnock in dreamland. Hamilton have come close just at the end there. Ali Crawford with a left foot strike, but they haven't really tested Conor Brennan enough for Martin Cannon's liking, and they'll have to do a remarkable turnaround here to get something out of this game. Half time at New Douglas Park. Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2.
Okay, it's 4-0, Brecon City 1, a goal just coming in there. And as I mentioned just before, Craig Turnbull gave us his match report. Watford have equalised against Aston Villa. So, lots more to discuss. We'll delve into the championship matches tomorrow. We'll bring you the half-time scores across the country, and we'll have more debate on some of the major stories and look at some of the other awards that are going to be handed out at the PFA Awards tomorrow night in Glasgow. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show. Half time across the country, north and south of the border. Let's have a look at the scores from the Premiership in Scotland. The full-time result from Tynecastle: Hearts 1, Celtic 3. Aberdeen are 2-0 up on Motherwell. It's Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2, Partick-Thistle 0, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 1, and Ross County 0, St Johnstone 0. The Dundee Derby is on Monday night. Scottish League 1, Ayr United 0, Airdrieonians 2, Dunfermline 1, Peterhead 0, Forfar 0, Brecon City 1, Stenhousemuir 0, Albion Rovers 0, and Stranraer 0, Cowdenbeath 0. In League 2, Annan Athletic 1, Queen's Park 0, Clyde 2, Stirling Albion 0, East Fife 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Elgin City 2, Arbroath 0, and Montrose 1, Berwick Rangers 0. In the Barclays Premier League, it's Everton 1, Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 0, Crystal Palace 0, Stoke City 0, Sunderland 0, Watford 1, Aston Villa 1, and West Brom 0, West Ham 2. Arsenal against Norwich is the 5:30 kick-off. And if you're wondering where the championship scores are, those matches taking place tomorrow on the Sunday to finalise the positions for the championship in Scotland at 12:30. It's Alloa against Dumbarton, Falkirk Morton, Hibs against Queen of the South, Livingston Wraith Rovers, and St Mirren against Rangers. And I think at New St Mirren Park, Gordon Smith, it will just be a party atmosphere for the Rangers fans.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, the thing about it is that they're obviously not in the best of runs. They've got a cup final to look forward to. They've got the Petrofac Cup in the bag, the League Championship, but the performances haven't been great, and the fans have been kind of frustrated, although they are enjoying the kind of party atmosphere, as you said, and they have sold a lot of tickets, St Mirren, I think, for the game. I think it's practically sold out for the match tomorrow. So I think that St Mirren are at least going to make money from the game. But Rangers, they're nothing to play for, as you say. I think a lot of the fans were buying them in advance, thinking this might be when they actually win the league.
I think what Tony Fitzpatrick's done is he says, look, the club needs money, and then they says, look, we're moving season ticket holders, moving them across, giving them a section, the St Mirren supporters, and giving the rest to Rangers, and it could bring in much needed money. That's, I mean,
saying about 70 or 80,000.
yeah, which is a lot of money for a couple of months. So I think it's a good idea. The fans weren't too upset about it, but I think they'd have been more upset if Rangers had went there and won the league and had a party there. But it's done and dusted now, so it ain't as bad.
I think in the current financial climate, Ruffy, I mean, I've known a number of supporters to dig their heels in and cause a real furore inside a club about moving them out of a seat. But if you're going to make 70,000, 80,000 pounds, that's money you just can't turn down.
Yeah, I think there was a wee bit of resent initially when it was announced, but I think it said that Tony Fitzpatrick spoke to the supporters and did the right thing, and sort of explained to them, and I think the majority of them got what's happened, because that could be 4 new players for Alec next year.
Yeah, absolutely, money crucial. And of course, St Mirren know, and Alec Ray has mentioned on this programme how difficult it's going to be. It's going to be one of the toughest divisions, and Dundee United look as if they could be heading into that division. So can they get straight back out of it? That's one of the things we'll be talking about after the break. and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Gordon Smith, Frank McAvenny, and a really happy Alan Ruff here with us on the programme. he's back on form, he's back with us.
The tension's now taken off that they're relegated.
That's the first time you've admitted it.
That's the very first time at exactly 4 o'clock on, the third last Saturday of the
30th
season.
of April.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy has said Dundee United are gone because, of course, Hamilton are 2 goals down against Kilmarnock at New Douglas Park. Killie still battling away, still fighting. Never mind the Dundee United scenario, Gordon Smith. Your old team have now really put the cat among the pigeons with Hamilton Accies.
Yeah, they certainly have. I mean, they get within 4 points if they win this game with games still to play, and anything can happen. So Killie are trying to avoid. I mean, the thing about it is, I think they'll even be quite pleased if they actually, even if they're in the playoffs, as long as their form was quite good, Peter, they'd be happy with that. If they're winning games going into the playoffs, regardless of who they've got, they'll be in a more confident mood than if things are on a downer, wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, this would be a big result for them today if they can win this.
That's what we're talking about with Rangers. I mean, to go in, you've got to go in as winning games, you know, the cup final. And, if Kilmarnock are winning games going into playoffs, it's the same thing, same scenario.
I have to say, I disagree with you guys, though. I understand where you're coming from with regards to momentum, but it's an unusual season. There's a real determination. There's a desire among the Rangers players. It's not so much a point to prove. It's really trying to put down a marker to everyone. They've won the league. They've won the Petrofac Training Cup, which they couldn't do in the previous 3 years.
That's right.
And suddenly, you've got a chance to win the Scottish Cup. I mean, I think it's just one of those seasons when Rangers players walk out onto the park. It'll be, chest pumped out, time to do the business.
It'll be interesting how they react to it because they get such a big gulf between the games. I think I've just got a goal at Firhill.
Yeah, and Inverness PARTICKTHISTLE have just scored. Miles Story right at the start of the game. In fact, the shot coming in, it hit the post and just ended up in the back of the net. So there it is. Inverness now 2-0 up. And suddenly, a minute into the second half, we could be looking at, yet again, saving you a fortune for not backing our 4 tips. I think over the course of the season, Ruffy, we've potentially been the worst tipsters of all time.
Well, we have been, but we looked for a bit of inspiration and starting adding Macca to the
I've only had 2. I've only had 2. One. I got
2 wrong.
I got
2
one.
wrong.
I got one right last week. Last week, Dundee. Took Dundee to win away. I was brilliant last week. I was different. I was on
I was going to say,
form.
Peter, we were talking about, it was interesting that we were talking about they're getting momentum and all that for games and everything like that. And a very interesting conversation with Brian Loudrup last week, and he was telling me that.
Hold on a second, hold on a minute.
What time is it? 401. Name drop.
401, name drop, first one. There you are, that's magnificent.
You were just walking by his house.
I was asking him. I asked him about 1992, the European Championships, and I said to him, when Yugoslavia get put out the tournament, how long before the tournament started did you get notification that Denmark were in? 10 days.
Yeah.
10 days notification. Now the players were all on holiday, on beaches,
That's the way.
enjoying it, right?
That's the way it should be.
They got 10 days notice and they turned up, and I said to him, he turned up and his brother Michael refused, didn't want to play, right? But what he said was, it was quite funny. He says, you know what their goal was? The players all sat down and because they knew they hadn't been training, hadn't been prepared anything, their goal was to get 1 point in the group stages, and that would be considered a success.
Yeah.
And what happened? They won the tournament.
Won the tournament. I think that's why I should be a good manager. I'd say, go on holiday.
Yeah.
Go and have a few beers. Come back next week. We'll see what we can do.
But it's unbelievable.
Yeah, we were unprepared and on the beaches, and we were there.
Aye.
We had qualified.
Is that right? And you were. Is that why you didn't do it?
What was it? We went to Mexico. He says we were the last ones to qualify, and Ruffy says, and the first to leave.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, like, it just shows you how can you determine what's right for you as for preparation for a major tournament when you think Denmark 10 days notice in the summer.
Tell him about his brother who wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Michael.
Yeah,
Michael refused.
What
I
player
wonder-
he was.
I actually
if
asked
you-
him, Brian, does Michael regret it? And he says, I think he does.
What
Like, you know.
a player he was.
Yeah.
He was
I wonder if you
fantastic.
guys
I thought
can
he was
remember
better.
any of the players who actually played in that game against, well, I think it was
West Germany at the
time,
time,
yeah.
I think would be. I think Schmeichel was the goalkeeper anyway.
Well,
I
in
know
fact,
that.
would it be Germany? It would be Germany.
It would be Germany, yeah.
Yeah.
Schmeichel was in goals, I know. For a fact.
Olsen.
Good call, Ruffy. Good call. Where did you pull that one from?
That's just a standard name.
Well done, Ruffy.
Oh, no.
Anybody else?
No.
Apart from obviously Brian Laudrup.
Can't think of many other ones.
Not
Who's the big boy played up front?
Well, you're
in
thinking
Mexico.
of Preben Elkiar. No.
No, he was
No. Isn't it amazing how I know what he's thinking?
Yeah, I know. He's worked together too long.
It's just going, yeah. Well, of course, the other one is the most famous one is John Jensen,
Jensen, yeah.
the Arsenal player.
Yeah.
But Schmeichel, Olsen, Pichnik, Nielsen, Siebebeck, Christofte, Jensen, Vielfort, Larsen, Laudrup, and Paulsen.
That's amazing.
He just rhymes off your tongue there, Roddy.
But as I say, he said that, like, it was quite funny. He said our goal was to get 1 point. We drew the first
Yeah,
game.
brilliant.
And he says, and we were all delighted. We thought we'd achieved what we wanted to achieve. And he says, then we lost the second game. He said, and then we won the third, and we qualified, I think, on goal difference out the group, Peter. But there was only 8 teams.
Yeah.
8 teams in the tournament at that time. When
Yeah.
you think back, it was not like now when the 20 odd teams in it. It was
I'll
8.
tell you, here's another shocker. Watford 1, Aston Villa 2. Jordan Ayew has scored to put Villa back in front in that game. Remember, they were a goal up.
Sunderland are losing
peg
as
back.
well.
And of course, Stoke City 1, Sunderland 0. He's another manager that's been linked with the Everton job, Mark Hughes, Macca.
Well, it's a surprise because, as Mark was saying in TV the other day, he's not done too well recently. And he's obviously, that's when the stories start getting about when you're not doing well. But I think he's very safe. He's changed the complete football at Stoke City. He would be an ideal choice for Everton. I think
I agree.
to go to a club like Stoke, who would just, they had not long ball. I'm not saying they didn't play football, but they were just totally the opposite of what they are now.
Yeah.
I agree. He's got them playing a nice style of football.
Magnificent. Yeah, they've got playing. Must be a great going in every day training with the guys. So yeah, he deserves a big club like that. So I'd be all for it. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So, and of course, he'll be hoping to finish in the top half of the table and stands a very good chance. The only problem is Chelsea have 2 games in hand over them, so he may well drop down to 10th. And ironically, Stoke are just maybe 8 or so points ahead of Everton in the table. But yet, I think the Toffees fans, Ruffy, are calling for the head of Roberto Martinez.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm only going with what I see him on the television. He looks a really nice guy. He looks as if he's a right football guy. He talks sense when he comes on. It's obviously, again, it's expectations of fans. It's expectations of where they want to be. But sometimes, the expectations are too high. Sometimes you've just got to accept where you are. I mean, I don't see Everton as a top 4 side.
Yeah.
I never have done.
I can tell you Matthias Pogba is coming on for Partick Thistle and the fans are booing him, which is absolutely sensational. Isn't it great when you get booed onto the park? There are a number of players who've had that down through the years. That's a competition in its own right, Max, isn't it? Who was booed onto the park as a player?
It's murder when it's your own players.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the Partick Thistle fans who are booing him on. I kid you not.
That's ridiculous. Isn't
It is ridiculous. East 5-1, East Stirlingshire 1. We have been putting out tweets on the Player of the Year awards. I like the fact that we put out a tweet who deserves the PFA Scotland Scottish League 1 Player of the Year award, and I can tell you, Ruffy, that Fasil El Baktui has liked our tweet, so clearly he fancies himself as one of the front runners in there. That's always good. Just a good prompt reply from him. So we've been putting out some of the polls.
Can I hazard a guess he's not playing today?
I think he's resting for the big night, of course, which we're really looking forward
Half
to.
time he looked.
Yeah, and only Maka is not coming to the table. I mean, he's just distancing himself from his.
I've got a charity
guys.
game tomorrow down at Annan.
Yeah.
And I'll not get back till late, so I'll be too tired.
Well, I have
Got to
to.
do things for charity, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I say full marks to you. You've also got to do things to have a right good night out, and that's why Ruffy and Gordon will be donning the old penguin suit.
yes.
Ruffy?
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
You don't notice?
Do you not know?
Honestly,
I know.
That would be the worst
You
one.
shouldn't have told him.
I went to a couple of these. I went to a couple of them, and I thought there's just some of the boys for the lower division just go out and get smashed all afternoon.
Well, I have to say to you, Macca, just to try and clarify
No
the
disrespect
whole.
to the
No,
boys,
I
but it's
understand
good
where you're
work
coming
to
from, but the whole thing has changed.
Has it?
Completely, yeah. But they're far more responsible than when they were in your day. Players now come along and show their respects, I think, for the awards ceremony. So, with that in mind, I think it's a right good day. As far as Fasil El Baktoui and others that are in the running for it, it's always nice when your fellow players vote for you in these awards, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I'm glad I chose him when he's actually watching the programme. Then
I know.
I chose him as my player of the year for that division. So
Yep.
it won't be giving me a hard time tomorrow night.
No, absolutely not. Okay, latest scores. We're keeping you right up to date with all the games. If you have just joined us and you've missed out on what happened at Tynecastle earlier, Ruffy, it was 3-1 to Celtic. They're now, I think, all but champions with the trophy in their hand.
Yeah, and it was good to see the celebrations at the end. I'm sure they would have rather have won it at Parkhead. You know, it's always good to have the majority of your fans in the ground when you actually win it. You know, I think celebrating, there's only a segment in that corner at Hearts, but certainly it was a sort of a muted celebration. So I think the real celebrations will be next week when they play Aberdeen.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it if Aberdeen won 22-0 today.
Yeah.
It's not over yet.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about signings and who's going to.
I'm not that mad.
But we're talking earlier about signings, Ruffy, and my biggest problem with Celtic signings is there's that many of them. I would rather see a couple of quality signings, you know, like 4 million, 3 million, than spend $1 million on this one, 500 on that. I mean, there's that many players coming to Celtic. Surely they could have got 3 really good quality players in. They've done a lot more use than what all these players.
There are people out there that you could move on if you got clubs for them to move on and recoup maybe 10, 12 million. You know, you get a beaten going. Would you sacrifice the boy Tierney? You know,
No,
for the future?
I don't think
so.
I don't think that's on the cards. I think what the way ahead for a number of clubs will be undoubtedly that Celtic will look to try and trim down the squad. I do think there's a ceiling limit, Gordon. I do think it's always nobody's getting more than £30,000 a week.
Yeah.
I think that's their ceiling limit, and how they can carve it up, I don't know how they're going to do that.
That's exactly right. That's the problem with it. What they need to do is have people looking and judging players who are playing at a lower level that can come in and play, because Celtic will not be able to go out and buy MD in the Premiership for a start. Probably struggle for the Championship, even to get the wages, pay the wages. So you're absolutely right. They need to be looking, you know, to get another player in like Hooper or something like that. Players that are lower division.
Yeah, but no disrespect, they've got a better chance this year because Rangers in the league. Because people come up and they like that 4 games, the big games.
Yeah, but how much more money does it bring in? Does it bring in enough money to go out and buy a major sign? I don't think it does.
So.
Even.
I think it brings in a lot of money, TV wise, and in their own right. And
I think the league will
glamour,
certainly be enhanced. I can certainly see an immediate reaction now of the ripple of excitement about Rangers coming back into the top flight.
Yeah.
I think the big question for not only Rangers fans but Celtic fans especially is quite simply, you've got to get a situation where they trim down the squad and try and get players of a certain standing, maybe some flair players, to come in and excite the fans. I can tell you there's a penalty at Kilmarnock. So at the game at New Douglas Park, Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 2, and Chris Boyd looks as if he's stepping up to take this. A couple of seasons ago, you would know exactly what it's like to celebrate, Ruffy. He's only got 5 goals this season, and I can tell you, I'm just looking, he's just taking his time, just making sure his hair looks exactly the way it should. And he's going to take the penalty kick, and there's always this delay just trying to get people outside the box. I'm just seeing the referee is Craig Thompson just ushering the last couple out there. Ross County 0, St Johnstone 1. Boyd's walking up to take the penalty, making moves, and Chris Boyd steps up, bang, and that is into the back of the net, and it's Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 3, and that's his 6th goal of the season. And I think that really puts the final nail in the coffin for Dundee United, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think so. I think we thought if Kilmarnock took anything out of that game, but it also puts pressure on the teams above, meaning Hamilton and Partick Thistle, and it gives Kilmarnock a wee bit of a lifeline. We knew they had been doing reasonably well, but not picking up points, but that would give them a good kick for the rest of the season.
And Adam Rooney has scored. Gordon Smith, they are now 3-0 up against Motherwell, and also St Johnstone through McLean. Stephen McLean has scored for them. They're a goal up on Ross County.
Yeah, interesting, the Aberdeen score, because you wonder to a certain extent, this would obviously foster the argument that because Celtic virtually tied up league today, the pressure was off Aberdeen, and with the pressure off them, they're cruising against a Motherwell side who are in very, very good form. But I wonder, I think like
they've missed Rooney.
Rooney Hayes, but I was going to talk about the Hamilton situation. I presume, and I think Martin Canning will get quite a hard time from his support today in the Hearts, the Hamilton, because they'll see that as a major defeat. I think, Peter. The fact is that this was a game that if they won it, they were safe. And they're at home against Kilmarnock, who are below them, and they're losing heavily.
As Ruffy said, Kilmarnock have been playing well, and as I said earlier, Kilmarnock have been playing well, and just that little, they've just been, getting a man sent off at penalty, and and against Celtic, they should have got something out of the game. So they've been there and kicking the door down, and it's just they've done well today.
I'll tell you, it's starting to get to that really nervous situation, especially now with the split and teams playing against each other in the bottom half and the top half. Hamilton now on 39 points. Partick Thistle only 2 above them as it stands if the results stay the way they are at the moment. And then of Kilmarnock on 32 and Dundee United on 24, Ruffy.
Yeah, exciting games left if the results stay as they are, because obviously, as we know, they'll all still be able to play each other, and 3 points can just be cut. We're looking at it just now, we're talking about 3 and 4 and 5 points. One win can just put you right in it.
What about you guys' thoughts on tomorrow? Manchester United at Old Trafford, at home to Leicester City, with United with something to play for, to try and deny Claudio Ranieri's side the title. They only need one more win, and the fairy tale is complete, Maka.
Oh, it's on the cards, isn't it? It's they call it Field of Dreams. I think it would be lovely to go there, Leicester, to go there and beat Man United. I think it would it wouldn't surprise me, put it that way. It would not surprise me the way that Leicester are playing. Even with Vardy out, they went and scored a few goals last week, and they've been a breath of fresh air down there. I really do. Doesn't matter if they win it tomorrow, Peter. They'll win it next week or whenever. They will definitely win it. 3 points. It'll be great if they go to this theatre of dreams and win. It'll be good because. But it looks like Van Gaal's leaving as well, so that would just be the final nail in the coffin for him. Yeah,
he's remaining defiant.
Yes.
That suggestion, I have to tell you, in press conferences, he's saying he's planning for next season.
I know, he's not giving anything away, and everybody was saying it's a done deal that he's leaving. So it'll be interesting to see, as I say, what happens then. But I think that tomorrow is a big game. I think it might help Leicester that Man United have something to play for, because I think they have to go out, have a go, and Leicester are the type of teams that hit brilliantly in the counter-attack. Yeah. So from that point of view, I think they'll be quite happy that Manchester United are going to be having a go at them.
Yeah.
And at the bottom end of it, Newcastle have just taken the lead in their match at home at St James's Park. They're leading now Crystal Palace by 1-0. Roughly at the bottom end, Norwich have destiny in their own hands. Newcastle and Sunderland have their own ideas of salvation and, of course, safety.
Yeah, it's always quite exciting down there. 9 times out of 10, there's something going to be decided in the last game of the season. The pressure must be frightening for everybody concerned with the amount of money that's at stake. But there's always one club sort of seems to have the ability to dig themselves out of a hole at the last minute and just escape it by whatever goal difference. And I don't know which one that will be, but certainly that's a good result for
Fun enough, do you know who it was last year that did that?
Who?
Leicester.
Aye.
Leicester were the team that escaped at the very end, didn't they?
It's
4-0.
now 4-0 to Kilmarnock. And would you believe it? The referee's just turned around and said it's been ruled offside.
It was tight. I didn't think it was offside.
Josh McGuinness with a header. Can I just see, Gordon, what do you make of it there as the ball comes in? Is he offside? Has he got that right?
I didn't think so. I think he was just on. I mean, it's very tight, but I thought he was just onside.
Yeah, well, there was a really good chance, and I can tell you David Gormley scored the third for Clyde in their match. They are in complete control now against Stirling Albion, 3-0 up Barry Ferguson's team. You can interact with us. Linda Hogg has said, any chance of doing a poll on the manager of the year from the 4 candidates? Well, we've just done that, Linda, for you. It doesn't get any better than that. Keep up, will you? Yeah, absolutely. The producer said to us. Just try to react to that. The Kelly fans, I can tell you, have just started singing their own new song. It's Hamilton Accies, We're Coming For You. Not quite sure of the tune they've attached to it. Sometimes it's good to get a nice little tune that can annoy everyone. Right, it's to the tune He's One of Our Own. If you don't know that, I certainly ain't singing it to you, that's for certain. Everton are now 2-1 up on Bournemouth, so they want to try and give the Everton fans something to cheer about. Mid-table is maybe not what they want to be. Maybe their expectations and the reality of what they can achieve are two different things. You can interact with us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, and you also can go on Facebook and give us your messages as well, and that is facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. We were talking about the Premiership tomorrow. Of course, if Leicester win at Old Trafford, they will be champions, and it's something that has repercussions right across the whole of not only British football, European and world football. There is a team that have adopted to a degree the Moneyball attitude to recruiting players that can do a job for them. They haven't spent millions upon millions. They've got players that they think can fit into a system for a price that they can afford, and look what they've delivered.
I know, it's amazing, but just think of what that means at every single club outside the main clubs now, with the chairman sitting with the manager saying, excuse me, why can't you win this league? You've been saying you can't compete with Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Arsenal. There's a team, Leicester City, last year just avoided relegation, win the division. Why can't you do it? It puts pressure on managers now, doesn't it, more than ever?
Yeah, of course, and I believe Ranieri's never won the league.
Never. He was at Cagliari, he was at Roma, he was at Napoli, and of course he was at Chelsea, and he was also at the Greek national side as well, where he lost to the Faroe Islands. And it's hard to believe it, but he's there. I think, personally as a man, I think he's very well liked, Maka.
I think so. He's coming across. When he was at Chelsea, they called him a tinker man. He was tinkering with everything. And now it's bada bing, bada bong. He keeps doing all that. The TV didn't.
I'm not sure he does bada bing, bada bong.
Was that Italian?
I think that's from an Italian gangster movie you were watching last night. It's Dilly Ding, Dilly Dong.
Dilly Ding, Dilly Dong. Is that what it is? Where's that from? Is that just from Claudia?
Well, I don't know.
I think it's brilliant.
Mary Poppins.
I think he started it, and I read an article in midweek that he started this way back in his days, I think at Cagliari, where basically, they gave him a bell because he'd come up with this little catchphrase. And I think what was happening is the players were coming out one day for training, and they weren't really in the mood. They looked as a little bit lacklustre. So he, obviously started shouting, trying to get them to go, and there was a church bells in the background. He went dilly ding, dilly dong, come on, let's go. And then it started, and then the players at the end of the season presented him with a bell, and it's just gathered pace, and an experienced man. It's something that's in his head. It's a catchphrase, and boy, the press are eating it up, Gordon.
Yeah, they love things like that, though, don't they? I mean, that's the thing. But it's amazing.
A romantic story, and for the purest of footballers, football supporters, I love the game, and it's just a fairy tale, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just a fairy tale that a team like Leicester.
Who plays Ranieri in the movie?
Yeah.
I would go for George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Oh, that's a good shout.
That's not a
Tom
bad
Hanks.
shout.
Tom Hanks for me.
Tom Hanks.
Nah, he's not got the personality for him. Nah.
Somebody that
Clooney.
Jeremy Irons.
No.
A bit too posh.
Bit too.
Yeah, okay. Just thought I'd tell you. There's another Partick Thistle substitution. I think they're throwing on Dennis McQuaid now to try and get back into this game, Roffy. But it's Aidan Nesbitt who's coming on.
Yeah, the high hopes for him at Celtic. He's just not done it at Partick Thistle. They thought they would take him and see if he could make any difference to it, but he's not really stamped his authority in any of the games yet. So might be in the rest of this one just to do something.
Here's a name that I think you're going to hear a lot of in the forthcoming years. Gordon Smith is Chris Cadden. He's pulled one back from Motherwell. He's part of that rich young talent that they have. They won the Youth Cup final in midweek for the first time in their history, defeating Hearts by 5-2 Motherwell.
Yeah, I think he scored in the final too, didn't he? I think, I agree, because they were fortunate in one respect that they had a few players in that team, in their development squad, who actually have been playing first team football. So they're obviously quite a strong squad, but it was a great win. I think it's the first time they've won that cup, so that was a marvellous result. I was actually also at the Glasgow Cup final on Thursday night, which was an under-17 game as well, and Celtic beat Rangers 4-0 in that game and played very comfortably and won it quite well. So the teams are spend a lot of time developing their young players.
Isn't it amazing how this programme reacts to various bits of information that come in? Nesbitt hasn't come on the park at all, it's Wilson. So let's stop talking about youth football now, just as that. We need to have a word with our reporter, just to see if we can recognise the players, which reminds me, Roffy, of the day. A reporter who shall remain nameless couldn't see who was coming on, and I thought that doesn't augur well for the future, does it? Until we bought him some glasses and he eventually could see the park. What about that day as well? I don't know.
I couldn't believe it when the binoculars came out the bag.
Which was fantastic. I'm sure he's looking back on it with great fondness, although not today. Frank McAvenny, Gordon Smith and Alan Ruff are here with us. We've got the poll out there. Who do you think should be manager of the year? And if you get a chance to tweet that to us, why? Always helps us to get an explanation on it. There are so many permutations to the end of the season. And on the poll right now, Jim McIntyre is currently leading, and I think you'd be happy with that, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think the large part of the season, I think they've been impressive, obviously capping it with the cup win, and just the way he set his team out, not so many foreigners in the team now, just sort of a British side who are all battling for each other, and the main guys up front have been the strikers, and I think they've been excellent in everything they've done. And at this moment, I know they went off the rails a wee bit since they won it, but I think when you look at what they've done compared to everybody else, as it stands just now, that he would be my nomination.
Here's a question, without looking down, then talking about managers, Celtic have lost the least games in the league this season of any team, right? Which outside Celtic, who has lost the least games in the league of any team in Scotland? And who's the manager?
Well,
lost the least games
in the Premiership.
And of all the leagues in Scotland,
of all the leagues in Scotland,
who's lost the least number of games?
The least amount of games. Okay.
Without looking.
We're not looking, Gordon. Right. Listen, Ruffy and I will never partake in your kind of answering questions.
Right.
I'll take a stab.
Right. Okay.
At Falkirk.
What do you think?
Rangers.
I'm going to go for East Fife.
Okay, Ruffy wins.
Yeah.
Ruffy wins. Falkirk have lost. Celtic have lost the least games in the league, 3 games this season. Falkirk have only lost 4 league games. Yeah, the problem they've had is a lot of draws, I think, isn't it?
That's the problem. I'd rather lose 4 and win the league.
Lose 10 and win the league. But Falkirk are actually, so that's why I think maybe Peter Houston has come into the category of manager of the season, because as I say, in the league they've had a very, very good performance.
I think he deserves another crack at a big, no disrespect to Falkirk, and please don't complain, but I think he deserves another crack at a big job.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as I say, he's got them strong. Obviously, it's been tougher for them. As I say, they've had a lot of draws, Peter, which has stopped them challenging for the league title itself. But as I say, that the number to lose so few games in a whole season is very, very good, I think.
Yeah.
Good going, Macca.
Yeah, it's good going. But we know he's a good manager, as you say. He maybe deserve another crack at it, but I was against him when it was Dundee United, wasn't he? And it was
2-1 for Craig Levine. He won the cup there.
Yeah, I know, but he went with Craig Levine at Scotland, and when he didn't play a striker, he says that's the future of football.
Yeah.
So that was him. I turned against him after that.
Yeah.
Peter Houston said that. I thought, what? You get used to, fans ought to get used to it. It's the way forward. It's not the way forward. It's not never been the way forward for me, as far as I'm concerned.
Johan Cabaye has missed a penalty for Crystal Palace that could have actually brought them level. Ruffy, he's been a good signing. That just gives you an indication of the money that's on offer there when Crystal Palace can sign a player of his calibre.
Yeah, and I've never been there before, Mark, I could probably tell me. I just think there's a great atmosphere at Crystal Palace's ground.
That's at Newcastle.
No, at Crystal Palace. I know it's in Newcastle. I'm just talking about Crystal Palace.
It's an old,
it's
one of the old
kind of team, and the support seem to all get together. They all seem to have that great. It seems a great atmosphere.
I enjoy playing there.
It's like Craven Cottage and that, and it's like the same as West Ham. It's like an old stadium. It's very tight. But the conspiracy theories will be out. Crystal Palace, Mr. Penner Cabaye used to play with Newcastle.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so the conspiracy theories, Sam Allardyce will be saying if they get beat, if Sunderland get beat today, they'll be saying it's a fix and all that kind of stuff, because Crystal Palace are safe and going to cup final.
You talk about old stadiums with great atmosphere. I think the Leicester City Stadium has a fantastic atmosphere.
Yeah, I like playing there.
They give the clappers out, don't they?
Yep. I can tell you it's 3-0 to Inverness at Firhill. And the Thistle fans are heading for the exits. They've seen enough. Partick Thistle 0, Inverness 3. So the goals into the back of the net. And there's an Inverness fan on the park just basically hugging one of the players. I think overjoyed at a 3-0 win at Partick Thistle. So he's been removed. But the Thistle fans, they don't need to be removed by security. They're leaving of their own free will at the moment, Ruffy, because they're not happy to lose 3-0 at home.
Yeah, it's a poor one. When you get to the end of the season, you want to send the fans away happy. And certainly that result today, if everything else stays as it is, that it's going to be a pretty tense last games for Partick Thistle.
Yeah, and Sissoko's been sent off for Aston Villa. Remember, they 2-1 up on Watford, so it could be, just when you think Eric Black's going to actually get the chance to celebrate on one night, it's not going to happen.
Well, it's going to be tough for him without the 10 men. But just look at the Premier Division today, Peter. You mean, obviously we've got one game to go. Five games today, 4 away. 4 teams away are leading. There's the only team that's got home win. It determines how hard it is to actually forecast games in the Scottish game at the moment, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. It's very difficult, as has been the case for the last 32 weeks for us.
How's it cooking today anyway? How's it going?
It's gone.
What did you pick, Peter?
You know why he's asking.
I know why he's asking.
No,
I know why. Basically because, can I just say something to you? Just in case you don't get a vibe of what Gordon's all about. If someone else has made a mistake, they'll highlight it to humiliate them. But if he has made a mistake, or indeed was part of a major blunder, then he somehow manages to steer it towards, that wasn't my decision.
I'm used to getting brought up. When I'm sitting here with a losing team, it's like we look at the coupon regularly. I notice we haven't done it too much today.
And the predictions have been dipped as well.
I had Hamilton.
Hamilton Ackies, right? And
You've had Partickthithistle, Stranraer, Cowdenbeath.
yeah, Stranraer winning.
Would you feel is now the time? Now is the time.
Now's the time. Yeah.
For our quadruple. It's gone.
Aberdeen.
Oh, Aberdeen.
So
Yeah.
Aberdeen. Oh, you're another winner.
It's absolutely gone. It's
I think it was worth mentioning.
It was on a day like today. It's
See,
just
we
been
go for the
absolutely
bets.
woeful. And I'll tell you, it's a goal for Kilmarnock again. It's 4-0. Josh McGuinness scoring the goal, and the ball from Kiltate, left hand side. I'm just looking. Cut the ball back. There's. It's just under McGovern into the back of the net, and it's in the back of the net. So good going there. No way back, I think, for Hamilton now. I don't think I'm putting my neck on the line suggesting that. 4-0 at home is incredible, but it shows you there's a bit of fight in Killie. I didn't think it was there.
No, I didn't think so either. But I think maybe one thing we never took into account, Josh McGuinness came back in the team today, and he is a big factor for Killie, isn't he?
Yeah.
In terms of how they play, and he's back in the team.
But they've been playing well, Gordon.
Yeah, that's it.
They've just
You've said that before. I know you're right. And as I say, if they keep the momentum up, although they might still not catch Hamilton, they've still got points to pull up on Hamilton, has to be said. But if they get into the playoffs feeling good and in that kind of form,
you wouldn't fancy them, would you? You wouldn't fancy playing against them.
No, you wouldn't. Exactly. But as I say, I think there'll be a reaction to that. I can imagine the Hamilton Ackies fans will be raging with it, as they will at Firhill as well. The Thistle fans won't be too happy about that result either, will they?
Yeah. Can I ask you, Ruffy, if it's going to be Kilmarnock, you know, they still have a job to do, Kilmarnock, to be perfectly honest with you, to try and escape the predicament they're in at the moment. If it was Kilmarnock indeed that were in the playoffs, which team would you favour out of the four that will eventually play?
Well, I think Kilmarnock, as the guys have said, if they're on a run and winning 4-0 in games and winning and going into the playoffs, you would think the players that they've got should be able to put up a reasonable show. But I think when it gets to the playoffs, obviously they've just got to play the two games, which will make it a lot easier. But it's on the day for me. You know, I think the championship side's already proved coming up against the SPFL that they can hold their own. So I don't think it's a done deal. But if they played any of these teams,
yeah, Maka, Airdrieonians is a 3-0 up on Ayr United. I can tell you. Which team do you think?
I would say Kilmarnock as well, because
to stay in the division. To
stay in the division, I just think it's a wonderful thing having your luck if you win the cup games, and I think they've been playing really well recently. They've not been getting the rub of the green, but it's decisive today, and it really depends. You know, is it before? Is it after the cup final?
There is a game after it because Hibs are in the cup final.
That could be decided, because if Hibs win the cup final and they have to play.
What if Hibs don't? Will they alter it if Hibs don't make the final playoff though?
If Hibs don't make it, yes.
Yes, they will alter it then, yeah.
But they have dates altering it, where Hibs would play the second leg after the cup final.
Yes.
You know, so
if it's Hibs that's in it.
It would be a huge week for them. I am going to tip Hibs to triumph.
That's my biggest problem. If they get beat in the final, and then to go and try and lift themselves to.
Yeah. So who are you going for then, Mac?
Kilmarnock. I'll go for
Gordon?
Kilmarnock to stay.
I'd probably go for Kilmarnock as well, just because I think, they're used to playing Premier Division opposition. Although you can't take away from the fact, which I would say, Peter, you're right in one respect, Hibs have got a very good record against Premier League opposition this season.
I just think I've watched Clark, because he's come up finally, and I think you can see what he's trying to do. Yeah. And I just think he's been so unlucky in some of the results he's been getting. So, but you can see they're playing well. He's got them organised, and I think, you know, the more games they play, the better they get to know each other in the positions they want to play. Yeah,
can't see past Hibs on the basis, Ruffy, that when you have a game that really means something, then I look at their midfield and their front line, and I think going forward, the energy, the drive, the goals that they have at their disposal, they have everything that the other clubs that potentially coming down the way haven't been able to do, score goals.
No, and I think Alan Stubbs would believe everything that you've said there, and he'd be telling the players, that is the case. But unfortunately for Hibs, like all the other sides, there are sometimes when they don't turn up. And it's happened far too often in certain games. So he would have to hope when that big game comes along that the real deal turns up. And if they turn up, then they'll give anybody a game.
Who are you picking?
I think between Kilmarnock and Hibs, and I'd probably go for Hibs.
Yeah, okay then, so that's 2 for Kilmarnock, 2 for Hibs on this one. Johnny Hayes has scored for Aberdeen. It's a 4-1 scoreline now. I think they're in complete control. The Dons restoring that 3-goal advantage. So the goals flying in across the country. And Chris Doolan has just got a goal back for Partick Thistle. Of course, 6 consecutive seasons Chris Doolan has managed to get double figures for the Jags, which is good going when you consider sometimes fans have been moaning that he's the only one who actually can score the goals.
Well, if you're scoring goals, you can't. You know, was he injured? What's happened? Was he out for a while? Was it?
He wasn't getting a game. I think he was actually just being left out. I think.
But when you're sometimes it's hard because strikers they score goals and they don't do a lot else, Peter, and the fans want more than that, and it's hard to satisfy everyone. But the boy can score goals, that's for sure. And as you said, for the last 3 seasons, he's got goals in him.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Ruffy. If I thought for 1 minute that my team just had, one type of player who just scored goals and didn't do anything else, just a goal scorer, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Well, he's been playing up front. I thought they brought Pogba in to sort of play up with him. Obviously, I think with Brannigan getting injured, he's changed the sort of formation of the team and went for security rather than trying to win games. He's went with the 5 in midfield, and so he's been left up there himself. And if you're a striker up there and you're only getting 2 or 3 chances a game and you're not taking them, the pressure's on you. Because everybody's expecting you to score
as well. But Jordan Rhodes is just a striker. He scores goals. He's banging goals in the Championship. And Gordon won't play him for Scotland because. It's just a goal scorer. I think that's all. I think that's all we need.
But I have to be honest with you. I think there are levels of being just a goal scorer again. I mean, I think the world has moved on. Football at the absolute top level has moved on.
Yeah.
I think strikers. It's the old Johan Cruyff statement that he said. Your striker is your first defender. They have to work even more. Richie Foran with a cross and into the back of the net there. I think Inverness now have scored another one and they're 4-1 up against Partick Thistle.
Do we have good players at Scotland that we can afford to leave somebody like that out?
No, but I'm saying at international level, there are levels.
I understand what you're saying, but in terms of Scotland,
I think you have to. Gordon Strachan wants grafters as well as the goal scorer. You can't just be one.
But he has that actually. I remember once. This is true. I once was speaking to someone for a company called Prozone who do all the stats on players and all that, right? And I actually asked them about First Division, League One in England at the time, and I said, give me some stats for striker, and he said, I'll give you the 4 stats I'll give you is the most goals scored, the most goals per chance, the most assists, and the highest work rate. And I said, okay, and I was shocked when he came back to me, and it was the same player. Jordan Rhodes were all 4 categories. And now that just shows you he's not just a goal scorer, Peter. It was goals per chance and assists and work rate.
I think if Gordon doesn't like someone, but listen. I think me personally, I think Jordan Rhodes is scoring goals. Get him in because
he's got more to offer than just putting the ball in the net.
Fletcher's not scoring goals. He's not. For me, he's not your out and out striker. I think he could do a bit of help.
Hasn't worked out for him in France either.
I think he could do a bit of help, and I just think Scotland hasn't got the kind of great players that they used to have. I mean, they don't have the strikers that we used to have. Ruffy, when you were going, there was 12 strikers all fighting for a place.
Yeah.
And we don't have that now, and I just think Gordon's got to say, hold on, maybe I don't like him. He doesn't think Lee Griffiths can step up to the mark. Well, if you score 38 goals in a season, 39 goals, surely you've got to be given that chance.
Well, we're about to find out. I mean, you live or die by your mistakes, your selections.
Yes.
You have a team that you think can go and do a job. We're going to find out in a group that is by no means easy this time around. I think second, realistically, is where we're trying to pitch ourselves. Can I just say, thank you very much to everyone taking the time to interact with us at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Andrew Van Beck says, what about Ray McKinnon at Wraith Rovers for manager of the year? Just because of some of the loan signings he's brought in. Ryan Hardy from Rangers, Aidan Connolly, Dundee United. He's been shrewd in the recruitment.
Yeah, 2 things: that shrewd in the recruitment and also considering the resources he's got as well to compete. Peter, he has done a great job. I mean, I've spoken to some people I haven't seen much of Wraith Rovers this season, and I've spoken to some people recently who have, and they said they wouldn't rule them out at all in the playoffs. They said, you know, don't think take it for granted that Wraith Rovers are going to be the team that's going to be knocked out first. They said they are good. They're a very good footballing side. He's got playing him a good system, and as you say, he's brought in some good recruits as well. So you can't rule them out yet for the playoffs when they happen next week.
Yep, absolutely. I'm just looking at the overall state of the League One table, just how cutthroat it all is. With Stranraer leading against Cowdenbeath, Roffey, suddenly that hope from Airdrieonians and Albion Rovers just to sneak into the playoff is diminishing as the clock ticks.
Yeah, particularly for Albion Rovers, they're away from home. You know, they would be confident that if they went away from home and got 3 points, that the other two might just falter, but the other two haven't faltered. I think Stranraer are hanging on in there, you know, so if they can see that game out, you know, obviously that they've got the place, but that'll be a very agonising last few minutes.
There was only one place in that division, really the fourth place, because the other three were sort of tied up quite early, weren't they? Dunfermline, Ayr and Peterhead.
Well, we had Darren Young in midweek and he said, I think if Albion Rovers, if we win, he said, I think that'll be enough. But in a strange sort of way, football is just that chance to kick you in the teeth, and it has done it today, Macca, because suddenly the other two teams have responded.
Well, yeah, Albion Rovers, I mean, you've got to give credit where it's due, because they were all over the place for a couple of seasons, and they've just been a bit consistent, not just as consistent as the other teams, obviously, but to go away and get 3 points a day, as Ruffy says, you would think the other teams are going to drop points. But it looks like they're not.
No, they've only just come back to form, actually, Albion Rovers. If you look at it, Peter, they had a bad run,
this
didn't they?
season, I mean,
and they won in the last 3 games, they had 2 wins and a draw. Before that, they weren't winning a game at all. And if they kept that run going, they would now be in that 4th spot.
Can I tell you what killed them off? Have a guess.
Chairman.
Nope. Is it all about the board for you, Macca?
Well, I know the answer to that.
Tell him, Ruffy.
It was the park.
I was going to say the pitch. Was it to do with the pitch? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the SFA had made some decisions about
games that they couldn't play.
When the park wasn't playable, the SFA insisted that they played it, or there'd be a backlog of games. And
would it be the SFA?
SPFL.
There was 3 games, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and it just ruined the park.
Pitch,
Shouldn't be allowed.
It's amazing how that can affect
this as well. Pay to play on dodgy pitches.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Macca, of all people, you to make a comment like that.
It didn't bother me.
I will quote.
But
I like to use a quote.
Prima donnas.
Good players can play in any surface.
Prima donnas of the day can't play.
Not all players are prima donnas. There are some really good players who are happy to play anywhere.
Can you remember, Ruffy, can you see God, the players of today playing the pitches we played in?
No, they wouldn't like it.
They wouldn't like it, they wouldn't do it. They just, I can't play on that.
Can I tell you something? I think a lot of players who've got a good touch wouldn't bother. If you've got a good technical ability and you can control a ball on a bouncy pitch.
There aren't many modern day goalkeepers would dive in a puddle.
Very good point, Ruffy.
You know, Albion Rovers is the only place I ever played, Peter, where I saw people. I was playing the wing for Kilmarnock one day, and I saw the players. I saw a lot of people looking over at me. And I thought, what have I done? But I turned around, there was a fox standing beside me, just right behind me.
That's what happens. See, when you're playing a game, you're supposed to move.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You're standing there.
That fox was going to eat me because I wasn't moving, but I couldn't believe it was a fox.
I might have thought you were a tree.
It's the only time it's ever happened in my whole career.
Well, to be fair, there's, I think the Celtic fans remember a fox coming onto the park. In Fergus McCann's
Is that right,
raid as well,
But you've got the modern day one, Carlton Cole. A fox. He's getting away with murder.
It was great. I thought I'd seen him today. On the park celebrating. I thought, well, he must have got a flight up to London.
Watford have equalised against Aston Villa. 10-man Aston Villa, you have to say.
You could see that coming, though. You could definitely see that coming, and I'll tell you, there's a penalty, I think, in Sunderland. Penalty in the 92nd minute. Would you believe it? What about that? Could they get a point? Could he be lucky? Is a point going to be enough, though, Macca? That's the thing about it. The bottom end of that table.
It'd be good that.
That's how Norwich got on later.
If it was between Newcastle and Sunderland, I obviously want Sunderland to go down, but.
It will. I mean, I don't think it'll alter things when you consider that Norwich are at the Emirates to take on
it
Arsenal.
depends on how much protest goes on there, Peter. Because
it's still a big one, isn't it?
yeah, it's a big one, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a big protest against Arsene Wenger there today. They're all staging protests. Not they're going to have that big game. So
Okay, listen, it's a full time at Firhill. Let's go there now to hear from Derek Clark.
You can hear the boos ringing out here. Full time at Firhill. It's finished. Partick 1, Inverness 4, in what was a very impressive performance from Hugo Hughes' men, and a result that sees them leapfrog Dundee into 7th in the Premiership table. Carol Tremarco opened the scoring in 14 minutes when he latched onto a Matombo pass to run in on goal and fire past Scully. Partick could have considered themselves unlucky to go in at the break behind in the first half, as they more or less dominated, but they were totally outclassed in the second period. Mel Story netted his 12th goal of the campaign just a minute after the restart with an angled shot from close range. Josh Meekings then volleyed home unmarked from a corner on 76 minutes, and that goal sparked a mass exodus of disgruntled Thistle supporters. Chris Doolan netted a consolation for the hosts, but 8 minutes later Jordan Roberts restored the Highlanders' 3-goal advantage just a minute later when he brought down a Richie Foran cross and volleyed past Scully. Partick were rank rotten in the second half and were roundly booed at full time. It's finished here. Partick 1, Inverness 4.
Ruffy, that was not a good performance. The Jags fans just letting Alan Archibald know that they are not out of it yet.
No, they aren't, and I'm sure the manager and the players will realise that as well. We keep talking about momentum, but to get beat 4-0 at home doesn't give you a lot of hope going into the next one.
92nd minute, Jermaine Defoe has scored a penalty to equalise for Sunderland at Stoke. That could be a valuable point. Keith Lasley's been red carded up at Pittodrie, and I'll tell you, that's interesting. Let's go to New Douglas Park, full time there at Craig Turnbull.
Full time at New Douglas Park. Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 4. A major boost for Kilmarnock's survival hopes and a real statement of intent with this dominated performance against the Ackies. They've cut the gap to 4 points. And it all started off with Greg Keelty, who scored a double in the first half. Great play for the first one, cutting the ball into the top corner away from Michael McGovern. The second was played in through from Boyd, and all Keelty had to do was just side foot the ball past McGovern and go. Boyd then got on the score sheet with a penalty in the second half after Lucas had handled, and that was his 6th goal of the season. And then McGuinness rounded things off with his 13th goal of the season, just playing the ball into the bottom corner after great play from Greg Keelty. This is Hamilton's heaviest defeat of the season at home, and it's also major consequences for Dundee United, because Dundee now have the chance to relegate their rivals on Monday night. But it's Kilmarnock who go home with the 3 points and really full of belief that they can survive. Full time here at Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 4.
What a big result, Gordon Smith, for your old side.
Yeah, tremendous result. I mean, that really is major. As I say, we talked about before about confidence, momentum, all that sort of thing. Bad result for them last week, but they would look at it and say, well, they were down to 10 men, we're leading 1-0, lost their goalkeeper, and to be fair to them, that's good. They're shut out today without their main goalkeeper in, so you wonder how the keepers actually played. But at the end of the day, it's been a strong performance. It suits them to play in AstroTurf because they also have that kind of pitch as well. So they weren't a bit put off by the fact that we went to Hamilton today. But that, considering how Hamilton have been doing of late, that is a very good performance from Kilmarnock.
Yeah. Troy Deeney, I can tell you, scored in the last minute for Watford. They've defeated Aston Villa by 3-2. So we'll bring you the best of the Barclays Premier League, and we will talk about all 3 leagues playing today in Scotland. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show on a day of drama north and south of the border. Alan Ruff and Gordon Smith and also Frank McAvenny have been with me all afternoon, giving us their thoughts on the goals as they hit the back of the net, the implications for other sides. A big win for Kilmarnock today at Hamilton Accies. Let's have a look at the full-time results in the Scottish Premiership. First of all, the early kick-off today. Hearts 1, Celtic 3, Aberdeen 4, Motherwell 1, Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 4, Partick Thistle 1, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 4, and Ross County 0, St Johnstone 1. The Dundee Derby takes place on the Monday night. Dundee United will be going down to the Championship with a victory for Dundee. In League One today, Ayr United 0, Airdrieonians 3, Dunfermline 1, Peterhead 0, Forfar 1, Brecon City 2, Stenhousemuir 1, Albion Rovers 3, and Stranraer 1, Cowdenbeath 0. In Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 1, Queen's Park 0, Clyde 3, Stirling Albion 1, East Fife 1, East Stirlingshire 1, Elgin City 4, Arbroath 1, and Montrose 1, Berwick Rangers 0. And in the Barclays Premier League, the full-time scores: Everton 2, Bournemouth 1, Newcastle United 1, Crystal Palace 0, Stoke City 1, Sunderland 1, Watford 3, Aston Villa 2, West Brom 0, West Ham 3, and Arsenal against Norwich will kick off within the next half hour. And what a big game that will be as well. Newcastle out of the bottom 3. Rafa Benitez's side putting up a real battle and getting a crucial win, and Johan Cabaye missed a penalty in that match. In the Premiership in Scotland, big results today. Celtic now within an ace of the title being handed over, and I think the coronation will take place at Celtic Park against, of all teams, Ruffy, Aberdeen.
Yeah, that'll be a great day. I think it'll be a full house. We saw Parkhead empty on a few occasions, but I don't think it will be next week. Supporters being supporters, yeah, will want to go there and celebrate in numbers. And I think that's, I mean, I've never won a league championship, so if I had done, I would want to win it at home when you've got the majority of your supporters there and not at an away game. So yeah, that'll be another fantastic day.
And of course, Gordon Smith, I think we're only seconds away from the East Fife players taking to the podium to be crowned champions in their division.
Yeah, I mean, they already had it won, didn't they, before even today, because they couldn't be caught. I mean, they were 5 points clear, so they'll enjoy their day as well. I'm sure this is a big win for them, and to avoid the playoffs too, because there's tough games ahead for those teams below them who are having to fight. You know, you've Queen's Park, Elgin City, Clyde. Annan must be gutted today, because Annan were 3 points behind and had to try and catch Queen's Park, but they had to score, I think, 4 goals to do it.
Yep, we're going to talk about the events today in all the divisions in Scotland, and we'll be looking ahead to the big games tomorrow in the Championship. Back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show. Don't forget, we've still got a couple of Saturday shows to discuss football in Scotland as we reach the end of the season. The awards will be handed out tomorrow night at the PFA Awards. There's also the Scottish Football Writers dinner coming up, when it may well be different players and managers that receive the awards. Everybody has their own opinion. Thanks to everyone who's been tweeting in with their opinion on who's picking up Player of the Year awards in all the divisions and Manager of the Year. Here today, we've been talking about placings in the divisions, because in League Two, Gordon, it doesn't get any tighter than the finish. So many teams had to produce a performance today. Clyde stepped up to the plate. They got a win. But what about Queen's Park? They sneaked in to deny Annan by 2 goals.
Yeah, it was amazing the fact they were playing each other, because Annan had to win. There was a gulf there, a goal difference gulf. So Annan had to win the game, I think, by 3 or 4 goals. They only get the 1-0 win. Now, by winning 1-0, though, the points they got, they would still have made the top 4 if Clyde had drawn or lost, but they didn't. So Annan will be a bit sick, because they had a great run in the cup. They had a marvellous performance in the cup, and then their form went off for a long time, and they really. But that, to be fair, that's been the season for a lot of teams. There's been very little consistency, especially in League Two. I think League Two has been very exciting, actually.
Yeah.
Been watching it for quite some time, and there's not much between the teams.
I think Gus McPherson, though, deserves great credit when you consider the constraints that he has to work under Alan.
Yeah, we had him in the show, and he was saying he needs to go and see the amateurs, he needs to go and see the juniors, he needs to see what he can bring in, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and then he loses players, you know, for whatever reason. So it's a difficult job. So I think that'll be the best season that Queen's Park's had for a long, long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you pick somebody to emerge from that playoff? Is there East? I mean, Elgin City are still in there.
Yeah, Elgin City, Clyde, and obviously Queen's Park are going to be there, and then who the winner goes through to play probably Cowdenbeath. I think they'll be playing in the playoffs. So I think it's very difficult to see who's going to go through there.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's a hard one to call. But it's been that way all season, really, hasn't it? As Gordon says, it's been a great season for the supporters down there, because everyone's beaten everyone. There's been goals. And by all accounts, it's the way football should be played. You know, it's exciting, and that's what you're wanting.
Yeah, and if you're looking for the pain that's going to be felt in the division above that, in League One, it has to be Airdrieonians and Ruffy. They've won 3-0 today, and they've just been pipped by Stranraer's victory at Cowdenbeath.
Yeah, they went on a wee run there. You know, Danny Lennon's went in there and it not turned them round, because the previous manager was doing well as well, but he's went on a wee run, and that'd have been good for him for his profile to get them into the playoffs, but unfortunately hasn't happened.
We are going to talk about the Championship. We're going to get the thoughts of Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Frank McAvenny on the big games for Falkirk and Hibernian in the battle to finish second. Not playing that extra 2 games could be the difference with the energy levels, as they'll have to play the team second bottom of the Premiership. Will that be Kilmarnock? It could be Hamilton Accies. We're going to talk about the results at the bottom end of the Premiership as well, and it's all coming up next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. If I were to tell you that in the break we almost started a Mexican wave in the studio, you just wouldn't believe it. The results today certainly have, I think, prompted a response of elation or indeed just misery and despair for a number of clubs. Certainly the Partick Thistle fans are not too happy with what they witnessed at Firhill. They were thumped by Inverness, 4-1, Ruffy.
Yeah, they certainly were. I don't think Alan Archibald's under any pressure, but I think Martin Cannon is now back in the limelight again. You know, he rode a rough time there for a while, but managed to get a couple of results to get him out of it. But I think that, depending on the owners, obviously, but I think it just puts him back under pressure.
I don't think he's under any
No, I
pressure.
know the philosophy there. I know the way they think and everything. But as we've seen it on numerous occasions, the fans start venting their feelings. Sometimes silly decisions get made. I hope it doesn't personally, but all I'm saying is that's him back in the limelight when he thought he was going to be safe.
Yeah, it was quite strange, Ruffy, because they won 2 games in a row, the last 2 games, and played well, comfortable wins, and then you're thinking at home today, this game is massive for them in the way that they just say, right, this is it, we can be comfortable and finish our season today with a win. Do you know what I mean? And they end up losing so heavily.
I wouldn't describe it as being Martin Canning being back in the limelight. I think it would be the spotlight. And I also think, Ruffy, that I share your view. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't see it happening. I think because the board and the chairman Les Gray has mentioned that if they go down, he'll still be in charge. So there's your statement. It's not what I would call your usual vote of confidence, Gordon. It's just a statement of fact.
I think the board's behind it, but I think there would probably be a fan reaction today, though. I think there's probably been quite heavy. Same as the beat Thistle
convincingly
at home.
The fans are not happy at all. But to get beat, but when you get beat convincingly like that, that's when they turn on you, innit?
Can I ask you about Kilmarnock? We've got to focus on the positives, Maka. What a good result for them, though.
Great result. I mean, I could have said it was coming because, as I said at the beginning of the programme, I thought they'd been playing really well. You can see what the new manager's been trying to do to them. They're well organised. They looked a completely different team from a few months ago, and so it just shows you what organisation and what a good training session can do. Get the players and work with them on the training ground, and I could see it coming in the last couple of weeks. It was just wee differences. They get the man sent off for a penalty. They get beat in the 94th minute with Celtic. Little things, and they went in a day. It could have been a nothing game, and they went there and they didn't have to turn it over.
Yeah, I've got to ask you guys about the championship because I think, looking at the games tomorrow, of course, it'll be party time for Rangers at St Mirren. I think they might want to finish in style, Gordon, on the basis that they're getting ready for, the Scottish Cup final on the horizon as well. And St Mirren, Alec Ray, no quarter given with his boys. Some of them will be saying farewell. Stephen Thompson's hanging up his boots. Jim Goodwin will play somewhere else, but will say goodbye to the Saints fans as well.
Well, he'll be looking at it thinking, well, if they get a win, Rangers have nothing to play for. If St Mirren get a win, they can maybe jump up a couple of places, which would make them look as if they're the team just outside the top 4. Because Morton have got a hard game at Falkirk, and Queen of South have got Hibs. So I think he would want to get a result. But Rangers, if I was Matt Warburton, I'd be looking at my team and saying, you need to lift yourselves from the performance you've been putting in. You've won the league. You've got a big game coming up. I know it's just under a month away. Nevertheless, you cannot afford just to drop away in terms of your performance. And I think, in that respect, he might even be saying to people, which I would maybe be doing as well, saying, some of you are playing for your cup final place today. And that might be a way of motivating them to do a bit better, Peter, if he says, if you don't improve your form, I might not consider you for the cup final.
He's given Waghorn an hour or so tomorrow, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive bonus. He's had to sit in the sidelines, Ruffy. I think you tipped him earlier on this season for 40 goals. It didn't quite work out for the lad. I was disappointed that he picked up the injury. No, I mean, I was disappointed that he picked up the injury because at the end of the day, we want, we have a little bit of fun in the studio. We have a little bet. It didn't work out because of the injury, and I think Rangers were denied a player that could have scored a barload of goals.
Yeah, and you have to feel sorry for a player like that who's scoring goals for fun and get targets to go for, and it just never happened for him. So I'm pleased that he's back. We all thought that he wouldn't make it, that they would just say, let's leave it until next year. But he's obviously desperate to get in that cup final, and although if he gets something tomorrow, it's a big wait until the final. So I think he would be wanting maybe a couple of games to prove that he would be in.
I think Rangers have got a friendly set up as well. I think they're playing Spurs.
I
Playing Spurs,
hope he's still no rushing him back. I hope he's ready rather than rushing back and get away a bit injury, because he'll be desperate. He'll be telling lies because he'll be saying, "Yeah, I'm all right," so he can get a place in the cup final. There's two sides to
it, Maka. He'll want to play, and they'll want him to play, and he'll want to.
He'll be saying yes, but the club's got to say, "Look, is he fit, or is he?"
With all due respect, though, it's not as if, and I'm not suggesting for a minute that he wouldn't be missed, but he's not been overly missed.
No. The man's without him, but as I say, when it comes along to the cup final, they also are without two players that have played regularly recently, King and O'Halloran, who are both cup tied. So it means that it strengthens the squad again if he's available. Whether he actually starts or not, it gives them a weapon, supposing they require a goal scorer, they require somebody to change the game, Peter. So I think from that point of view, Rangers, there'll be two sides that Rangers will want to work on him, and they've got a few weeks to do it. And if he's nearly fit just now, he can be ready for the final.
He gives them something different, doesn't he?
But yourself, see, in all honesty, I've done it, and probably you guys have done it too. You've actually played games when you did lie about how fit you were.
No.
You actually said you were okay. You did. You never did.
I'm so honest. I'd play in every game. I just wanted to go in there. It wasn't for a bonus or nothing. It was just because I wanted to play.
I know.
And it was stupid a lot of times.
I know.
Really, you suffer after it. You do suffer it. We've all done it. That's what being a football player is all about. I think.
As far as Rangers at St Mirren, there are other major issues here. I think for second and third, if you're good enough and you've got the players that can win over the third and fourth place playoff, and then into playing against second and the winner of third and fourth, and then eventually playing against second bottom, then you can go all the way. I think Hibs would like to finish second just to maybe save themselves more than Falkirk because of the cup final as well, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think Alan Stubbs has just been keeping everybody on board, saying, well, if it is the playoffs and we're not in the two, we'll take it. I think that's the right thing to say, because he's not certain where he's going to be. But certainly I think if he's honest enough, he'll just want to play the two games before he goes up there. But we've saw today, how dramatic results can happen, even at goal difference. Teams dropping out and teams jumping up. So I think we'll just all be glued to both games and seeing how they're going tomorrow.
In terms of the Hibs scenario, Peter, I mean they've got tomorrow. They've got a game, and then they've obviously got the cup final starting. So that's two. They could have 2, 4, or 6 playoff games as well, depending on. So they actually could have a maximum. They could have 8 games between now and the end of the season, and obviously before they play Rangers, they could possibly have 6 more games. So it would be because their second playoff game, if they get through to play in the final, and their third or fourth place would be before the Rangers game, and the second game's after the cup final. So they could have actually 5. They could have 5 games now before they actually play Rangers in the cup final. In fact, is it 6? No, 6 including tomorrow.
Yeah.
They could have 6 games before they play in the cup final.
Could you go back over that again for me? I wasn't quite sure.
You lost me in the second game.
Wow,
well, the thing is,
that far into it?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, if they qualify, supposing they're in third or fourth place.
They've got a lot of games.
If they're third or fourth place, a lot of games. If they're third or fourth place and they play the first playoff and they get out, that's it. They've got tomorrow and then 2 more games and then the cup final. So that would be 4 games in total.
Yeah.
If they win, if they're in that position and they win through, then they have another 2, and then the 2 through. So they could have 8 games.
That was nearly a scene out of Danny Kaye.
Honestly,
the poisons and the chalice at the palace.
Ruffy,
What's the Romans ever done for us?
I have to say to you, Ruffy, you will never believe this. I was actually just going to say Court Jester is the movie, Danny Kaye. That's exactly what I was going to say. The vessel with the pestle.
You two are married.
Oh, this is we're hanging about too long together. But I think, and just on that point for the Hibs fans, I know I got it woefully wrong with one of the cup predictions when Hearts were 2-0 up at Easter Road, but I've tipped Hibs to win the cup. I think they'll score a barrel load tomorrow against Queen of the South, Ruffy. I think they're going to score minimum 3 tomorrow. What do you make of that statement?
Yeah, but I think Falkirk will win 1 or 2-0. I really do, with the home advantage. I know Morton are quite a tight team to play against, but I think getting the first goal, they'll at least get 2. But again, it's all about nerves. It's all about, you know, handling the situation. And I'm sure that, I don't think the majority of the Hibs players are there from the Hamilton days, but we all saw what happened there when the magnitude of the game was just too much for some of them. And they failed miserably. So if there is any of them who were there, remember that day, they won't want to go through it again.
No.
And I can tell you there was, I'm going to read this out. I'm not sure, we haven't had it backed up yet. We've had a couple of sources tell us about it, but apparently at the end of the game at New Douglas Park, where Hamilton were heavily beaten by Kilmarnock by 4-0, apparently or allegedly the PA announcer said after the defeat, there is no man of the match today, as quite frankly none of them deserved it. I wonder if that could be true, because let's not rule out the fact that many a PA announcer has come out with various things that have angered people along the way. Craig Turnbull is at New Douglas Park. Craig, did you have your ears open to hear such a thing?
Well, Peter, I actually had headphones on, so I didn't quite hear that, although I can fully believe that the PA announcer might have said something like that, because Hamilton really didn't get going today. They didn't win enough individual battles for Martin Canning's liking, and he was particularly disappointed with the first goal. He felt the ball was out, 100% out, he said, but Greg Kiltie wasn't hanging around to wait to see the referee blow his whistle, and he put it in the top corner. But that was really Hamilton's problems. He just didn't get going, but it's still all in their hands, says Canning, so they'll have to go next week and try and get 3 points to get their survival.
Talking of survival, Lee Clark must truly believe, Craig.
Yeah, but he still says that the Ackies are in the driving seats, although if they play like they did today, they'll give themselves a real chance. He also paid tribute to what was a great Kilmarnock support today. It must have been about 1,500 of them coming through there, and there was a real bond between the fans and the players today, and that was reflected in the performance, and he believes that, you know, if they play like that, then they'll give themselves a great chance of survival.
Okay, thanks to Craig Turnbull here giving us the latest from the camp. I think it was a disappointing result, but again, Martin Canning will know that they have destiny in their own hands, Ruffy.
Yes. And there will be important games coming up, and I would say that the team, as we've discussed, the team that's winning will come through the games. I think if you go to an opposition's ground and win 4-0, you're desperate for the next game. Yeah. I don't think Hamilton will be looking forward to the next one. Okay,
let's go to Firhill. There were boos from the fans of Partick Thistle. Derek Clark is there. Derek, what was the reaction of Alan Archibald?
Yeah, very disappointed, as you can imagine. He said that was the worst defending he's seen for 18 months. You can't really disagree with that. They were absolutely shocking, especially that second period. He said the first half was a pretty even contest. You've got to agree in that respect. I felt Partick were possibly unlucky to be going in at the break a goal behind, but he said the second half was completely unacceptable. It makes next week massive, obviously going to Rugby Park against Kilmarnock. He says the players have made it that way, but obviously it's going to be a humdinger of a game down there at Rugby Park next week.
And obviously John Hughes, as ever the optimist. He just wants, I would presume, to finish the season on a high after what has been a disappointing season for them.
Yeah, he said obviously in midweek, as I mentioned at the top of the programme, he felt they've underachieved this year, but he was delighted to come here and win against what he described as their bogey team in recent years. He just says you've obviously defeated Kilmarnock 3-1 comprehensively last week, and obviously a comprehensive win here today. He said he wished they could have performed like that earlier on in the season and they could have made the top 6. He said they could have scored more here this afternoon, but he was delighted to win. And he had a special mention also. Richie Foran came on as a substitute in the second period, set up that fourth goal for Jordan Roberts. He said had a special mention for him. He says it's like welcoming back a new player because he has been plagued by injury in the past couple of seasons, so if he stays injury free then it will be like having a new player. So delighted John Hughes.
Thanks very much to Derek Clark. And just on that point, talking about Richie Foran, he was a big player for them, roughly over a couple of seasons. Wasn't even part of the Scottish Cup final starting 11 or the squad for that matter because of those injuries. But again, when you consider John Hughes this week has mentioned how difficult it is to try and recruit players to Inverness.
Yeah, I think he comes in the same category as Snodgrass, to be out of the game for so long. You know, it have never happened to me. Mentally, I don't know what that puts you through. You know, obviously wondering whether when you do come back to any kind of fitness, will you be the same kind of player you were? But he has been resolute in saying he will be back, and it's been a long fight for him to get back in there, and all credit to him to get there. And you're right, he was Captain Courageous for them, you know, main man every week that they were playing, and they did miss him, so it'll be a big addition to get back.
It's tougher at his age as well. He's 35 now, you know, so that's it gets tougher when you're trying to come back from injuries.
It's a horrible feeling. I was out for nearly a year, and it's horrible. You feel as though it's never going to end. You're training your own, and you know, it's just horrible. It really is. So credit to the boy. Yep,
absolutely. We wish Richie Foran all the very best. Hopefully he gets a full season without injury next season. So that does set it up nicely, of course, because when you look at the fixtures for next week, Gordon, suddenly Hamilton Accies are at Dundee, but it's Kilmarnock, Partick-Thistle.
Yeah, I mean, Partick, that's the worry that might be to a certain degree. I think, I've thought for a few weeks though, they have got enough points to be safe. I don't see Partick getting caught and dragged into the fight for second bottom, but it certainly would strengthen the case to say that they are in danger if Kilmarnock beat them next week. It's going to be a tough game, but it depends how Thistle do. I mean, they're a very hard team to predict. Partick-Thistle, you know, to try and forecast their games is extremely difficult.
Yeah, tell me about it. We've blown it again today. Now in the Championship, we've set it up nicely on what's at stake for Falkirk and Hibs. I think it's only right and proper that we talk about the game that kicked off earlier today. It seems like so many hours ago that Celtic went to Tynecastle to try and get all 3 points. They managed to do it in the end, winning by 3-1. Here is the table, Ruffy, and I think everybody now realises it's an unassailable lead. The Celtic players were celebrating at the end, and they'll be crowned champions next week at home to Aberdeen.
Yes, they will. I think the disappointing team will be Aberdeen. I think if they sit back and look at the season, there were numerous times when they could have put Celtic under extreme pressure. But and even when they had early games, you know, to draw the gap closer with Celtic playing later on, they couldn't capitalise on that either. So it'll be for them. It's an opportunity missed, you know, because I think we all would agree that this Celtic team were there to be caught, but Aberdeen just didn't have, over the whole period of the year, just didn't have the resources to back it up. I thought the main things for them was the goalkeeper Ward getting called back to Liverpool, which must have been a massive blow. I know we say this, a decent goalkeeper will get you 5 or 6 points. Him going back there, I think, cost Aberdeen maybe 7 points, you know, and then obviously with Rooney going out, you would say he could win you another 2 or 3 points. So these two players for me were the ones that sort of derailed Aberdeen at crucial time.
When you think about it, I mean, they lost their last 2 games there before today. So, I mean, that's 6 points. Imagine they were going to Celtic Park next week, you know, to play in that game. Only 3 points.
They're never going to beat Celtic twice in the season again.
But only 3 points behind, you know what I mean? It made it a huge game. Now it's virtually a game where Celtic could be celebrating. Aberdeen will obviously try and beat them in order that Celtic don't celebrate on the day against the team that's been their main rivals.
Well, that's the only thing left for Celtic, really.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
It's when they get the title, not if they get the title.
Yeah, but with that in mind, and again, we discussed it at the crucial period in the season. Ruffy says, you know, they maybe didn't have the resources. I don't think they had the mentality.
No, I don't think so.
That's the key issue here. They had times and occasions where if they'd won games against lesser teams in the division, Gordon, October I highlighted to you where they blew it big time, and Celtic won all their games. Aberdeen lost all their games in October. These were against clubs that they should have been expected to get the 3 points against, and they couldn't do it.
Yes, I agree with you, and it also happened at times, Peter, when Aberdeen were playing the day before Celtic as well, which meant that they were going to be winning the game. Celtic wouldn't know the result till, so when they get into their match, they would know what they had to do, and yet Aberdeen couldn't take the points, and Celtic were able to relax and play and get the points. And even, as I say, it's even not just in October, it was happening more recently as well. Celtic had bad results and Aberdeen didn't cash in on it, and I think that's been the problem. I mean, as I said, the last 2 games before today, Aberdeen lost both games, and yet today they beat an informed Motherwell comfortably 4-1. Now, is that because the pressure was off? That's a big question, how you would react to that. What's their mentality when, if they'd had to win today because the league title was at stake, would they have won so comfortably? But because already the league title was basically sewn up today, Aberdeen have gone out and played in that fashion. So that maybe tells you that they haven't had the capability mentally to win
I think Peter's right when he says they didn't have the bottle, really, because there was that many chances. It's not just once or twice this year. It's a few chances that Celtic gave them, and if they were ever going to win the league, it'd be an easy run in, possibly. It would have been this year. Now that Rangers are back, I don't think anyone outside the old firm will win the league now in the next foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So I think this was the chance that Aberdeen had, and they've blown it. They've blown it big time for me, because Celtic have not been that team. They've been so inconsistent, and they could have done it. They could have done more than what they've done, but the leagues don't lie at the end of the season. You think, oh, the Celtic have won the league again. That's all that matters.
If anything, it's the strangest season out, Ruffy, when you have fans with banners up protesting against the owner of Dundee United, which you would expect, considering they're on the verge of relegation. You've got Kilmarnock fans protesting against the board and what's happening at Rugby Park. You have a situation where the fans of the team on the verge of winning the title have banners up complaining against the manager and the board there and the chief executive, scathing criticism. It's the most outrageous season ever. And Celtic, on the verge of the title being handed over to them, the fans are not happy and they are staying away.
Well, quite rightly so, because they're wanting value for money. And they're paying a good whack to go to games. They are putting out the money. The guys that are going there are I mean, I don't know if you go with your kids and all that, how much you're talking, maybe £100. But you're not seeing entertainment in front of you, and then you've got to say to yourself, why am I going? There must be something else I can do with my money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the fans that are obviously protesting aren't getting value for money. I mean, I think the days of just turning up at 2:45 for a game and then leaving it at 10:02, I think supporters are wanting more than that. They want to walk away excited, and it's just not happening.
Especially at a club like Celtic, I keep going on it. I suppose it's Rangers in many ways as well, but at Celtic, it was always about the way you won.
Yeah.
There was a certain style you had to beat.
Frank's right, because it is the style and the way that the way you play. If you look at the league, Celtic's only lost 3 games in 38, so it's not all about winning games. It's how you win them and how you play and the entertainment value and what players are on view that somebody can become a hero. And they're just not there now.
Celtic
but I think the draws
a month ago. They should have won the league a month ago, but they kept giving chances to Aberdeen. And if they didn't do that, they'd have won it a month ago.
You could get away with the draws that Celtic have had and losing only 3 games, as Ruffy has mentioned there. You would get away with that in this division if you were above Rangers.
Yeah.
And secondary to that, you would also get away with it, Gordon, if there was some kind of success on the European front.
Yeah.
That hasn't materialised.
Yeah.
In essence, the biggest problem for Celtic, if you don't have European football of a standing that you can produce good results in big crowds, the Celtic fans lose interest by December.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there'll be more interest next year, because I think a big interest for Celtic fans is also the rivalry with Rangers. If Rangers are there, Celtic fans will be more interested in terms of how their team's doing, because they'll want to now push on. Celtic have got 5 championships now in a row, and they'll want to push on and go for the 10. And that'll be the big thing for Celtic. That's why they'll be thinking about the next manager. They'll want to try and establish this, you know, the hold they have over the league title just now, how far ahead they are of Rangers in terms of players and the money they've got because of what they've done. But you're right to say they need to also produce better in European football, but also in the cup competitions. I think Ronnie Deila, two things went against him this season without doubt was the European thing, but also the domestic cups was a big factor in terms of losing both, and especially losing the semi-final to Rangers. That was a key element. That was why he's out the door now.
He chopped and changed the team so much that, you know, that it wasn't healthy.
No.
You know,
The fans had a lot of objections to the teams he was picking, didn't they?
Yeah, of course. And some of the, I mean, listen, every manager's got a favourite, but the boy Johansson's a big favourite of Ronnie's, and the fans were saying, well, he's not playing well. Why does he keep putting him in? And when he put him in, and when substitutions, everyone thought Johansson's not playing well, get him off. He wasn't doing it, and it just brought a bigger hole for Ronnie, and it's strange because sometimes as a player, maybe you just want to get off if you're not playing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think a lot of the Celtic fans are not fooled by any, spin on certain stories. They know he was shown the door by the board. You can spin it any way you want and saying he's decided he's got to go. Yeah.
Petty says that the other night. Petty was on stage and he says that, and he says, cheer up, Ronnie. He says, we've got something in common, the two have been sacked. Yeah. And I thought, in front of the Celtic support, now Ronnie's not supposed to have been sacked, but I thought, go on, Betty, you know, he just... Betty's Betty.
Yeah, I think the point here is nobody's fooled by it. They know that he was shown the door, but I think when you look at what's facing Celtic now, they've got a big call to make.
Yes.
Yeah, the spin that I'm talking about is you can talk to your blue in the face about the manager signed 23 of the players. That's just not the case. They were already talking about certain signings coming in before he got there. And some of the players that have been signed have been a huge disappointment.
Yes.
Carlton Cole's been a huge waste of money. The boy who scored today, Colin Kazim Richards, he's not fooling anybody either, Ruffy.
Hopeless.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm sure the fans would like to know. You know, who is identifying the players? It's okay us saying it, you know, but I would like somebody to go on record to back it up. You know, it's okay as those.
Peter Lobo and John Clark.
Yeah, well, are they going to come out and
John
say
Clark, rather, no
well,
John
are
Clark,
they going to
John
come
Clark.
out and say, yeah, it was us? The two of us have brought in 8 of these players. They won't do it. You know, they won't. So
I would rather, as I said earlier, rather than buy 17 midfield players, I would rather them. I mean, I'd do that up. That's quite a bit of money. So I'd rather go out and buy 3 decent players, £3 million players, than buy all this. Just a stack of players just to make up.
I think what
so
you're trying to say, Mark,
games.
is quality rather than quantity.
Yes, of course.
And I think the great thing about next season, Gordon, although Maka mentioned there, and I think we might all share the belief that Aberdeen have blown what would have been their biggest chance. The next few years, they might never get a sniff at it again. You're going to look, and I think there's a great interest for me in what Hearts are about to do over the summer with regards to recruitment. But there's big questions, Ruffy. With Rangers playing their final game tomorrow, Mark Warburton has said he'd like to have all his signings in before summer camp 8 weeks from now.
yeah, and that's another exciting time for the Rangers supporters because we're talking about the Celtic supporters. Rangers supporters will be sitting there watching what's coming through the door. You know, there's an expectation there, and Dave King started it with talking about the money that he had. So the Rangers supporters are okay. They've accepted the boys for Accrington, Stanley, and the other chaps that have come in, but there needs to be another level now. There needs to be up a level. These boys have done great. You can't take it away from them, the boys that have come in. But Rangers supporters, like Celtic supporters, have an expectation of they won't be fooled, and they'll want a better quality of player coming into the team. They'll buy their season tickets as they always do, but I think now is a big test and people backing up what they've promised.
Yeah, that's the big conundrum here, I think, for both clubs in Glasgow, is the level of ambition.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, the thing about it is the word that was used there is a key aspect, and I think the point is it's actually put them under more pressure, Rangers, because they won the semi-final against Celtic, went through, I should say, they didn't win the game, but they went through in the semi-final, because what happened then was, in terms of the performance against Celtic, what happened in the day, the expectation levels from Rangers fans have gone up. They don't see it as a case of getting up there now
they're winning.
And just getting up to play in the Premier League and hopefully build and improve. They're looking now to be challenging for the league, and that's why Mark Warburton has to look for players that are actually strengthening the squad to a level that he can compete. Because if they do win the cup, they're also in Europe. Whoever wins the Scottish Cup goes into Europe too.
On a one-off, they can win games, but they've not got a squad there that can compete for the season. So they need to buy 3 or 4 players, 4 or 5 players maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see what players they do indeed recruit. We're going to come back after the break, go back over all the key full-time scores for you. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday football show here on STV. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Frank McAvaney have been with me for the entire afternoon. It started off a little frosty and nippy to say the least, and that's not the weather, that was just a little bit of tension in the studios with Frank McAvaney, Ruffy and myself. I thought there was going to be a 4-hour huff from Ruffy Macca, but he came out of it.
He came out it. You know, he was all happy when he found out that I've got a tournament, and he's hoping the West Ham fans are going to dig up the pitch so I don't have it. He was quite happy with that, yeah. So that got him back on track.
Yep, absolutely. His defence of Dundee United has been resolute, but yes. I think today may well have just pushed them over the edge of the cliff, because it was a really tough day for Dundee United fans. Of course, they are a team with a great history. and a team that many would suggest are worthy of a place in the Premiership, but you only get out of it what you put into it, and Dundee United are now staring at the trapdoor, and Dundee could relegate them on Monday night because Kilmarnock had an emphatic 4-0 win today. Let's have a look at the full-time scores in the Premiership and then discuss, just before we go, the implications at the bottom end. In the Premiership today in Scotland, it was Hearts 1, Celtic 3 in that match. Of course, Lee Griffiths scoring his 39th of the season. Aberdeen 4, Motherwell 1. Keith Lasley red-carded in that game. Hamilton 0, Kilmarnock 4. Partick Thistle fans were far from happy with what Alan Archibald's side put out today. They lost by 4-1 against Inverness Cally Thistle, and it was Ross County 0, St Johnstone 1. Stephen McLean scoring the all-important and decisive goal there. Have a look at the table and see how it affects your side. Celtic now just waiting mathematically. I suppose Aberdeen will still think they can catch them, but the goal difference alone means Celtic will be crowned champions. Their next game at home against Aberdeen. And just looking at the poll we put out today, just to see who would be the Premiership Player of the Year, and you can see Lee Griffiths is generally the man that the fans think will win it because of those 39 goals. 59% think Lee Griffiths will win it. We'll find out tomorrow night at that awards ceremony. What about no championship today? All the games will be played tomorrow. Of course, Falkirk and Hibs battling it out to see who's going to finish second. Falkirk have a 3-goal advantage with the same points as Hibernian. In League One today, here's the full-time scores, and there were some dramatic scorelines. Ayr United 0, Airdrieonians 3. Dunfermline defeated Peterhead by 1-0. It was 4-1, Brecon City 2, Stenhousemuir 1, Albion Rovers 3, and Stranraer 1, Cowdenbeath 0. And that last result there, as you see, the table means that Stranraer are in the playoffs. Airdrieonians and Albion Rovers, despite their efforts today, it just wasn't enough. So Stranraer, Peterhead and Ayr United in the playoffs. And also in Scottish League 2, here are your full-time scores. Annan Athletic 1, Queen's Park 0, Clyde 3, Stirling Albion 1, East Fife 1, East Stirlingshire 1, Elgin City 4, Arbroath 1 and Montrose 1, Berwick Rangers 0. Here's how the table looks. And agony for Annan Athletic right at the death on the very last day. Queen's Park just sneak in by a goal difference of 2. Clyde and Elgin City in there as well. That was drama, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, amazing how tight it was at the beginning. Annan, getting the victory over Queen's Park, but they knew they had to win by 3 or 4 goals in order to turn the goal difference around. But they were also relying on the fact that maybe Stirling could get something at Clyde, but they didn't. And with Clyde winning as well, then Annan had to settle for 5th spot, and they've missed out on getting into playoff.
Ruffy, East Fife picked up the trophy today. There were celebrations on the podium. A really great effort from Gary Naismith's men. Yeah,
and just as we said, to do it at home, to have the celebrations at home is always a good thing. But there's again East Stirlingshire. The last 2 or 3 months they've been bopping the league all year, but they've been coming up against the teams at the top and managing to get draws. But it was all about just enjoying the day for East Fife.
Down through the divisions, of course, we've been putting out the poll on who you think should win the Manager of the Year. But down through the divisions, a lot of the younger managers that have come into Scottish football have certainly posted out some notice to a few chairmen up and down the country that they're well worthy of a look. I'm thinking of Darren Young, especially. Gary Naismith will attract attention as well, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Barry Ferguson, who would be considered reasonably new into the management side of things, definitely sometimes you've got to establish yourself at that level, because people are looking to see, can he handle it? Can he handle a club without the resources of being at the very top level? So these guys have done well, and as I say, it's always difficult to break through and move yourself up into a bigger job, because a lot of the times they're looking for somebody who has had a track record at a higher level than actually just promoting a young guy. But I think a lot of them, certainly, as I say, with the resources they have and having to work with part-time players and all that, a lot of them, don't get the credit they deserve.
I think a lot of them should. I mean, a lot of older managers, your Fergie and all that, says that managers should always go down the leagues and learn, because you're always going to make mistakes. He said, it doesn't matter what you do, you make mistakes, and you make them down there, they don't get highlighted as much, and you can learn from your mistakes. And that's,
look at Alan Johnson. He had a torrid time at Kilmarnock, suddenly gone to Dunfermline, albeit they're full time in that division, but he's managed to get them up as champions with some time to spare as well, Macca.
Well, he's done brilliant, and they won the league a couple of weeks ago, didn't they? And they've no stopped partying since. So it's incredible.
Finally won again today. The final one, but against Peterhead, who have actually chalked it as well. I think.
I know it's incredible, but listen, Dunfermline's a big club, and and good luck to them getting up the division, and hopefully they can, because they're a big club. I remember them being always there. They were always at the big table, weren't they? They were always there. And a town like Dunfermline, they're a big place. So good luck to them.
It's interesting, Peterhead are now in the playoffs, and they had a great season. Jim McInally is one of the candidates for manager of the season, and yet today is their 6th defeat in a row.
Yes. 6
defeats in a row they've had. So I imagine he's got to then get these players lifted now, because they're getting into the playoffs.
Justify why he's manager.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you, the problem is though, he's actually put some of his players, wrapped them in cotton wool to get them ready for the playoffs. It's a big gamble, because suddenly you're gambling on them being able to turn it on in the playoffs.
Yeah. But it also puts the pressure on the players that he's wrapping up in cotton wool. If he's saying to these 5 players individually, look guys, yous are my match winners when the playoff comes. Just get yourself ready, relax, get yourself ready for the games, because you're the ones that could win it for us. And then what you're doing is you're expecting them to respond to everything that he's done. So in the long run, he might get the benefit of it.
I think he'll be paying their bonuses.
Still no goals between Arsenal and Norwich City. I think a lot of the Arsenal fans complaining, and of course there was going to be the banner unfurled just saying it's time up for Arsene Wenger. It's a harsh world. You don't really get cut any slack with the Arsenal fans, or any fans, when you're not winning for such a long period of time.
Well, do you know what? Arsenal's such a big club. They moved to the big stage. They moved from Highbury to the Emirates, and they should be doing better, Peter.
FA Cups are not enough now, Macca.
No, not now. Not a team. They constantly get into the top 4. And it's for anyone else, that's a great achievement for anyone else. But the Arsenal fans are saying, well, why shouldn't we be winning? Why shouldn't we be going to challenging? They're bitter rivals. Tottenham are challenging this year.
Yeah.
They put up a better challenge than what Arsenal did, so I think that was the final straw.
I think you're right.
The Tottenham coming through and doing that.
You're spot on, because what we were saying earlier on as well is the fact that he's probably got away with it for years gone by, saying, look, we're having to compete financially with Man City, Man United, Chelsea, and they were the teams that won the league. All of a sudden now, Peter, he's competing against Tottenham, his main rivals, who are above them, and going for a league title, and Leicester City, who haven't got the resources at all. So I think that's why he's getting more stick now than he's ever had.
Okay, last points before we finish here. Of course, Celtic will be crowned champions in the home game against Aberdeen. So congratulations to them when it eventually comes. Rangers are already champions, but they'll be partying tomorrow at St Mirren. And of course, the small matter down south of Leicester City could be the Barclays Premier League champions if they win at Old Trafford, Ruffy.
It's a tough place to go. I mean, Man United are starting to win games. It looks as if there's a bit of confidence about them. I don't think they're anywhere near what they were, but certainly it's a big ask. I know Leicester are playing particularly well, but to go to Man U, to get a win, I think they'd be quite happy to get a draw.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tottenham and Leicester are both away from home tomorrow, and they didn't win. Neither of the two of them won their home game against who they're playing. Tottenham didn't beat Chelsea at home and Leicester didn't beat Man United at home, so it's going to be harder away from home.
It is indeed. Who's going to win? Will Hibs do enough tomorrow to finish second in your mind, or will it be Falkirk, Gordon Smith?
I think that Hibs can do enough to finish second, yes, but you know, it depends, but I think they can.
Maka?
Yeah, I think so. And I think Leicester will get something at Old Trafford as well.
Ruffy?
No, I think Falkirk. I don't think Hibs will score 4 goals. I think Falkirk will just nick it.
Okay, interesting times. Of course, we're going to enjoy the Gala Awards ceremony. Congratulations to all the nominees in all the categories at the PFA Awards tomorrow night at a city hotel in Glasgow that shall remain nameless, but it will be hopefully an affair to remember. And of course the managers who are also in the category, congratulations to them. There's a merit award and I think a very worthy recipient tomorrow. Certainly looking forward to it. Ruffy, Gordon and myself will be there. We will discuss it on Tuesday. Let me tell you, no programme on the bank holiday Monday on STV, but you can join us on Tuesday again at 7 o'clock. We're all friends at the end of the programme. We were fighting with each other at the start of it, but that's the nature of it. Everybody can have an argument and then you're back as pals again. We'll see if we're back as pals on Tuesday. Thanks to Ruffy, Gordon, Mac and myself. Good night.